I was out on my own in a place that ain't home. Ain't nobody to hold in this town. Stumbling around, always lost, never found how to get myself up off the ground. Oh, but darling, my mind has been broken by the nights and the fights and the notion that the stains on my soul, they just won't wash away. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I need you to heal me, to feel me. It's murder when you're not around. I need you to heal me, be near me. Never needed you closer than now.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Fireside Cast coverage of RGL Season 14 playoffs. Tonight we have an IM match, the IM lower bracket finals, between Fantasy Foosball, the second-seeded team, and the third-seeded team, Mr. Smoke'em's Day Off. I'm joined tonight by Theory Y as a co-caster and Antlers on production. Theory Y, how you feeling about tonight's matchup?
Yeah, I'm expecting an absolute banger of a matchup. We got double Koth right off the bat. Dan, you already know Dan's the man on demo. I expect at least 400, if not 500 plus BPM. The rest of his team, we got Siege on Roamer, Atlas on Flank Scout, Blitz on Pocket Soldier, Nines on Pocket Scout, and Co on Medic. Little known fact, I actually played against Smokums about 3 weeks ago before playoffs even started. Now, they had a different medic at that time. I hear Co may be a bit of an upgrade, so expecting a great performance out of this team. What about the other team, M17?
Yeah, so that was Mr. Smokum's day off, the third seeded team. Now we'll move on to the second seeded team, which is Fantasy Foosball. They have Ness or AC-130 on Combo Scout, Local Man on Flank Scout, Pocket Soldier is Trumon, Roamer is Danmar, um, AT is the demo, and Stranger Ringing on Medic. And again, I would like to point out, just like Theory mentioned, both medics are ringers. Unfortunately, there's some just issues, but that's totally fine. Still excited to have a good match, especially because like generally a med can fit in pretty well most of the time. I would say. I'm sure you have a bit of experience with that theory, but yeah, like he was saying, in terms of the maps, we have first map is going to be Koth Bagels, second map is going to be Koth Product, and the decider will be Process if we need it. So, and you were expecting some fat damage on from Dan, so we'll see. We'll see if that comes into play here on these maps.
I am curious because Bagel, a King of the Hill map, Devilman often thrives. However, AC 130 is kind of a crazy scout player, if I do say so myself. I remember playing back against them way back in amateur season, and they are dangerous. So I think it's going to really come down to whether Dan or AC 130 steps up more for their team and shuts down the opposing pockets better. What do you think, M17? You think that's fair game plan?
I mean, I think I would agree that Ness or AC-130 is definitely the soul of the team, to be honest, or you know what I mean, just like definitely the centerpiece of the team, not like super heals heavy, like in terms of like some other combo scouts might be, but I know he's definitely going crazy running around the entire game. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of stuff going on from him. He's definitely got a lot of experience. He got the third place, I believe, last season on Medic. Um, yeah. So, but I definitely agree that in terms of on Mr. Smoke'em's day off, Dan is the guy to watch out for on demo, and AT definitely has to hold him off.
I've heard stories, tales M17, being in this IM season myself. Teams have been afraid to take fantasy foosball to a map like Bagel just because of AC 130. So I wonder how it managed to slip through. If it was just a blunder by Smokums, or if they have some sort of game plan, if they were thinking about this and believe that they can shut him down enough that the W Scouts doesn't overtake them.
Yeah, I would like to point out something. In terms of previous face-offs, Mr. Smokeums faced off against Fantasy Foosball in week three of Bagel, and they won 4-2. And then earlier in playoffs, in the winners semifinals, um, Mr. Smokums did win 2-1 against Fantasy Foosball. And the first map was Product that Mr. Smokums won. Foosball won the Bagel. And the third map was Snakewater, which we definitely won't see tonight because the third map is now processed, so a little bit of a change. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, and that's very interesting to see how they've swapped up because, I mean, teams could definitely change over the course of a season, and it could just be like fantasy football not as comfortable with Koth and just got more comfortable with it, or maybe just Bagel in general. Maybe they just like their Bagel, but they don't feel so comfortable with product. We will see. I have some. I'm really hoping to get a lot more aggressive on this match. I think that'll be really the key to shutting down the key play. Like you just need to honestly make sure you keep the key player in check and keep like the pressure on that key player. So Dan and Ness, I really think that's important for both of these teams if they want to succeed.
Oh yeah. I wonder, you were talking about picks and bans and strategies. Do you prefer banning maps you're bad at, or trying to like kind of outplay your opponents and like practice them, expecting the enemy team to pick them going into playoffs?
That is a very good question. The way I generally think about it is, especially until you really get to like the higher levels, I would normally say you want to pick to your strengths unless you know that the other team has like a super strength, like is like so familiar on that map. Is so, that's what I would normally think. But if you really think that, there's a huge, if you really think it's going to be worth it, you do you. I mean, I think it's obviously these decisions are normally discussed with the team, and a lot of it is kind of just like, it might just be feelings based, just or in terms of not like just in terms of how you feel on the map based on your previous scrims, previous matches, all that stuff. Just because, things can vary up very quickly, like I was saying, and all the teams are going to be playing all the maps, maybe not the exact same amount of time, but generally pretty close to the same amount of time. So, while some teams might be better than others, they're generally going to get pretty similar amounts of practice on each map. So I feel like what you pick and ban could definitely be, just what you've been feeling recently, honestly, based on your
Mhm.
performance in scrims, and that can also be dependent on who you face in your scrims. If you face a lot of higher level teams in your scrims, maybe you'll feel more comfortable than you should, or maybe you feel less comfortable than you should. Excuse me. And then opposite, if you face higher level or lower level teams and feel more comfortable than you should.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I would rather pick a map that I am comfortable on than picking a map that I'm less comfortable on, because I think I'm gonna like get the enemy team and catch them off guard, because you never know how prepared they will be. You only for sure know how prepared you are. Which team actually picked Bagel? Was it Fantasy Foosball or Smoke? Let me
It
check here.
it was fantasy foosball because they were the ones who are the higher seeds, so they got to be home in this match.
Nice.
Then last time they picked what's it called? They picked product last time. So,
We've had a bit of a reversal in terms of the picks. Bagel product in their last matchup. Now it's Bagel product again. They want to run it back. Both teams. I think that speaks to their confidence on these maps if they're both willing to leave these maps unbanned and then both pick them back to back again. I think something has possibly changed in the last couple weeks before grand finals in 2 days.
yeah,
You excited, M17?
I am excited. I know that's your team, but yeah, grand finals in 2 days. We're about to go live here, but yeah, winner of this match moves on to grand finals, and the loser is eliminated in third. We'll see. Excuse me, fantasy foosball on the blue team, Mr. Smokum's day off on the red team. I'll let you take away this first mid here, Theory.
First mid walking in. It's like AT taking some early pressure across the points, just walking forward, trying to sticky out Dan. Dan the man, a little action here in left house, and Danmar actually goes down to Atlas, taking out the 2v1. I don't know why he chose to bomb in here, but AC 130 trying to alleviate some of that pressure, rotating back towards mid. Are they going to be able to bully the opposing team out with this player advantage? They are, but Dan doesn't want to give it up. He's stepping up, gets some damage on the medic, and it's a very back and forth mid fight so far. Neither team wanting to give up the first cap at all. It's going the way of Mr. Smokums right now, and they're able to get the first cap, even with the player disad. They're somehow able to bully it out, but Fantasy Foosball not willing to give it up for free, immediately countering, standing on the points, and it looks like we're going for a right house shove right now. Never mind, they're just peeking and prodding, not able to get anything else. And the Uber exchange comes out immediately with the medic is juggled. A better Uber coming out from Mr. Smokums. They're chasing us point 9. Nines wants kills, he wants the medic, and he's able to take out Stranger. Stranger, no stranger to the respawn queue it seems, but the collapse from Fantasy Foosball finds 2, finds 3, finds the medic. And what an interesting mid-fight on 17. Really back and forth.
Yeah, that was really crazy because at the end there, right before they used, Stranger actually got dropped down to like 6 HP. It looked like he was gonna be put in a really bad spot, and then they decided to take an aggressive exchange, something I think that Ness really feels comfortable doing with his experience. And even though Stranger got juggled up, they somehow managed to get the demo and another pick, which was huge in letting them. And even though they lost their medic in the post Uber, when their Uber ended early, they just had the extra player that they were able to use to collapse, and a key bomb from the soldier just helped them win. Mr. Smoke'em Stay Off has broken through, sort of, not really, as Local Man is going to pick off Blitz. Ko is kind of doing a little bit, just not with the team there. They're going to back off, and it's turned into like a 15% Uber ad for Mr. Smoke'em Stay Off, but they're down one player, which is going to allow Fantasy Foosball to kind of pressure this. Ness is just kind of harassing Siege. Here comes Truman on the side, is not able to get a kill, and Mr. Smoke'em Stay Off has completely broken through now. They are at about a 10% Uber ad, as here comes the pressure on the point from Nines. We'll see how this transpires here.
Yes. Fantasy Foosball able to bleed about a minute and a half off the clock there. Meanwhile, AC 130 pressuring Atlas in left house. Atlas living with single-digit HP, 4 HP. And then, meanwhile, on the point, Mr. Smoke'em Stay Off taking space. Nines walking across the point, taking out AT. The Uber exchange comes out. Stranger uses first. Ko uses second. Nines chasing across the points. Dropped Dan in that, which means Mr. Smoke'em's, or wait, they didn't drop Dan. That's the wrong.
No, that
team.
was, yeah, Fantasy Foosball had the worst Uber exchange this time. Yeah, they didn't get those kills earlier. They lost 2. Blitz and Siege are just holding down this right there. Blitz gets a kill on Truman. Here comes the force through. Dan Mars almost gets a kill on Blitz, but Blitz gets a crucial arrow, gets another crucial arrow, and is able to grab 1 kill along with Atlas getting another. Ness picks off Siege, but that's 1 more down, and that's going to allow Mr. Smoke'em Stay Off to kind of neutralize this situation. It's even Ubers. They're starting to build this back up, and since they have a bit of a forward hold going, this is actually looking a lot better for them than it did. Although, as I say, that Fantasy Foosball just broke right out through the left because they were down a soldier. They've taken control of the space. Nines has to back out. They actually have 2 people aggressive in the left house here. Looks like they're not really going to pressure any of that. A lot of fighting happening on the point. AT very low is going to get saved. Ness is going to pick off Atlas. That's a big pick. Siege is going to have to back up. They also, both teams have Uber now. Ness is trying to get some point time. Here comes the exchange from Mr. Smoke'em Stay Off right onto Ness. Ness is doing a ton of dodging. And here comes the counter use from Fantasy Foosball. No real bomb comes through, and so it's just Ness trying to chase Nines. Gets nothing. They do get the point. And Ness actually gets a kill and runs out through the house. That's insane. Ness gets another kill on a 6K. And that's going to be the one fight. And Mr. Smoke'em Stay Off is still trying to stay in. Nines takes a bit of damage. Here comes a big ball from Danmar, gets a bit of damage. Is not going to get any kills, though. Dan gets juggled up, might get killed. He does get picked off by Local Man. That's a huge pick. Atlas goes in for something, picks off Ness. It's such a scrap fight here.
It's so back and forth. AC 130 showing why he's feared on this map. But now all of a sudden, Fantasy Foosball on the back foot. Stranger might get caught out. He's being run down. There's a soldier in lobby. Blitz gets the air shot, popped up and finished off even after Stranger gets the pack. And now Smoke'ems is going to have a chance to recap, and they're going to have 80% Uber ad. Both soldiers alive, only down to scouts. It's going to be an easy forward hold for them. They're going to post these soldiers up on concrete. Meanwhile, Dan sticking off Big Door, trying to lock out Fantasy Foosball. And at this point, Fantasy Foosball could be in dire shape. They still have a minute to burn. Looks like they're trying to bust through. May go for a 4-man here. They're just pressuring Atlas, though. They take the free kill. Meanwhile, Dan up in the air, dies to fall damage, breaks his ankles, man. And Danmar's in on the left. He's going behind. It's complete chaos. Nines.
Wow,
they want to take the Uber. They want to take the Uber. They're walking across point. They're trying to catch him out. And Stranger, he's here, but Nines has to back up. Takes out NC 130 first. Decides to go for the damage classes. Now shooting at AT. Chasing into lobby. But the pipe lands and Local Man cleans up the shot. It's very unclear. 4 seconds left. Mr. Smoke'ems recaps. And they managed to almost wipe Fantasy Foosball and kill the medic. So now they're back in a forward hold position, almost an exact mirror after all that craziness. This time with a little bit less Uber ad, though, only 30%.
Yeah, that looked really scary there, because I thought Dan was going to die, because it looked like they had a trap setup going where you kind of fake that you have a hidden trap on the pack, and then you try to get some kills, and they dead, but it did 0 damage, which would have been huge if it got, like, the demo or the med. It looked like that's what Dan was trying to get, but Fantasy Foosball is going to be able to pressure here. Ness is very aggressive, is all the way on the side. Nines is very low, is going to get out. It's still 6v6. Danmar has a lot of control of this left house here. Dan is trying to hold off the point. The right house is completely under control by Mr. Smoke'em Stay Off. Multiple players on both teams very low. Stranger, the medic for Fantasy Foosball, is low. Danmar gets a bomb onto point. Localman and Blitz trade in the right house. Here comes the Uber from Mr. Smoke'em's Day Off. That is huge. That's really going to help their calls, although they are down an extra player. Yep, they lose another. It's 3v3. Stranger goes down, but just the soldiers on Fantasy Foosball. Nice shot from Danmar onto Siege. It's 2v2 here. Atlas gets one more kill. Danmar gets another kill, but Atlas lives. And here comes Localman. Localman's in. Ness has to try to fight this. It's a 1v1. Localman does get the kill. He's going to try to get the cap, but already Blitz is back, excuse me. But here comes the support from Fantasy Foosball. The round is so close. Nines gets piped, and that is the round. Wow, what a back and forth crazy first round. Oh my goodness.
0-0 double overtime in the first round, M17. We have ourselves a match.
Yes.
Fantasy Foosball with those slightly better spawns, just barely managing to get their players back, and cap Localman with the hero play. Here we go into the second mid. Let's see if it's as slow as the other one. AT once again walking forward, very aggressive, takes a lot of damage from the trap though. Dan sets it up, predicting. Meanwhile, Atlas is already through left house, gets counterbombed by Danmar. He's taking a lot of damage, but he's able to finish it off and lives. The clutch arrow coming out from Stranger, hitting him. Mr. Smokers is having to retreat here, down a soldier and down a scout. The mid goes to Fantasy Foosball right off the bat. Much more explosive than last time.
Yeah, what happened smartly from Fantasy Foosball is Mr. Smoke'em's Day Off did a push in the left house, and then the soldier, which I believe was Danmar, or the pocket soldier over there, oh my goodness. Yeah, no, that was Truma, excuse me, back up from the left. Actually, what's going on here is there's a right pressure here. Looks like Fantasy Foosball is not able to hold. They're going to have to back up after losing a soldier. But that huge collapse on that left house was really big from Fantasy Foosball to win them that first fight, especially from AC-130. There's a bit of pressure here. Nine's trying to get the cap, but AC-130 is just standing on it. Here comes the Uber exchange from AC-130. Very aggressive. Is not going to get the kill into Nines. Nines gets low, but here comes the counter use from Co. Big bomb from Dan. Dan gets Localman. Juggles Stranger as well. Stranger doing really good dodging. Somehow is going to try to work their way out, but their entire team has left them. Oh my goodness, they lived for so long there. Could not get out. Trumon and AC-130. And yeah, Stranger did die. He got chased barely right at the end by, I believe, Atlas. Danmar's going to get out, but that's going to be a one fight there for Mr. Smoke'em's Day Off. And since they have a bit of Uber ad, this isn't going to be as bad as it could be, although it's not that bad for Fantasy Foosball here either, as there's still two explosives that are spawning, which means Fantasy Foosball can just bust through this door without really any pressure, and Siege just has to give it up.
They're walking in, taking space. Slight Uber disad, but they can fight this before Co is able to get that Uber. They're immediately on the point. AC-130 edging the cap. Meanwhile, Dan's getting knocked back a bit, bullied around, taking the spam. They're able to get the recap. Let's see if Mr. Smoke'ems decides to play this ad. 86%. They're charging it. They're getting ready. It's turned into slightly more Uber ad than it initially was. I wonder if they're going to be able to make this call, if they're going to see it. Blitz dropping very, very low in Red's house. It looks like they want to go aggressive. Nines. Oh, they're choosing not to Uber. They're just using the pressure to recap. Not a bad idea. Blitz was low anyways. They were able to get one scout kill. And the recap goes over to Mr. Smoke'ems. They lose their Uber advantage. Let's see. Does Fantasy Foosball decide to go in an exchange, or are they just going to try and recap? They have a lot of cap time. AC-130 getting very aggressive. And Danmar able with the splash rocket from the house finishes off Nines. And with that, the cap is going to go over to Fantasy Foosball. They're up 2 kills. AC-130, they use Uber walking across points. But Co is out. They don't even have to use M17. They were down 2 players and they just ran away. No Uber to be had. So even though they don't get the points, now they're going to be able to re-aggress with that Uber advantage. Mr. Smoke'em's taking space, clearing the stickies. Drop down by AT. And it looks like it's a 4-man. It's a sack for the medic. But Co is already out main. Very, very smart. Danmar's on the chase, fighting in the lobby. Both scouts literally 1 HP.
Oh my goodness.
Danmar trades with Atlas.
That was an insane misplay there from Fantasy Foosball. They beefed up the Uber, no explosive was with them, and then after that, they tried to do a quote-unquote all-in, but it was just the 2 soldiers that bombed, and then Ness and AT were kind of like being very scared about doing anything. AT didn't bomb, and Ness didn't back up with his med, and so Stranger also got picked by Siege going in from behind. That was an awful misplay. Dan is going to get a pick on the Trumon early. Here comes definitely a lot better of a 4-man. They do get the force this time, much cleaner from Fantasy Foosball. AT is going to die. Locoman is still behind, though. He's going to die late. That's going to be a slightly late spawner, although it's not going to be too bad. Siege was getting aggressive, trying to find something, but there was nothing there. But yeah, definitely making up for the mistake they made earlier. And this time, they're going to have a 50% Uber ad here. And even though that was such a bad situation there, Fantasy Foosball had gotten so much time early that they actually still have about 20 seconds on them. Or, excuse me, that's about 10 seconds now. Yeah, here comes Danmar busting out of the left. Here comes the potential bomb
Siege
from
in high.
Siege. Huge bomb.
Lands on Stranger. Stranger up in the air.
Stranger barely lives. Wow, that was crazy.
There's no follow-up. All right, Fantasy Foosball re-aggressing with their Uber ad. Mr. Smokins is gonna have to give this up. They can't fight without that Uber. Looks like they're going for a four-man though. Dan is in. Atlas is in on the medic, and they managed to force Stranger. Stranger dropped very low, milking that expertly down to about 30 HP, but they ended up having to use, which when it's only 40 seconds left, this could be bad. This could be bad. At this point, Mr. Smokums, once they get their spawns, they're gonna be trying to fight this, trying to use their Uber advantage, trying to bully Fantasy Foosball off the points. If they can get enough kills and set up a forward hold, they could seal the deal. If this fight goes wrong, they almost assuredly lose, and it doesn't start off well with Siege dying to a trap immediately. It's gonna be a 5v6 with this Uber. They're taking space off of Concrete, walking in. Nines wants to be aggressive, but Fantasy Foosball doesn't want to give it up. Dan's in, immediately kills Stranger. Truman dropping very, very low. They manage to get the medic, but they don't get any more kills, and AC-130 is in, causing chaos. Fighting gets taken down by Nines. The
Danmar's hits a air shot.
He hits a crazy air shot.
Oh
He's
my
locked
goodness.
in. He's locked in. He lost the first round. He said, no more. No more. Bagel is my map. And just like I said, they're going to be able to set up this forward hold, try and lock out Fantasy Foosball. They'll get one fight, but Stranger dying means it will not be an Uber advantage fight. AC-130 trying to take space. Truman trying to bomb in, gets taken down. AT dropped to very low HP. They need to get in. They need to get onto this point in the next 20 seconds. They're able to walk through Concrete. Local man taking some space. It's a 5v5. Both teams down one player. Fantasy Foosball getting the recap. Might not actually be the best for them. Now they have worse spawns. They're backing off. It's going to be double overtime again, M17. Nines gets Uber, walks across. AT dropped, killed. Stranger at 85%. Caught slacking on the building slightly. And Mr. Smokums is going to be able to close it out in another 0 second to 0 second game. Or round, I should say.
That was such a close round. That was very insane. One thing that I keep seeing, this is the second time that Fantasy Foosball, just in that round alone, they're not keeping track of the Uber. Mr. Smokums, they off-punished them for it twice. Even though overall it seemed like better from Fantasy Foosball, just that one thing, not keeping track of Uber properly, has made it so they lost that entire second round. We're into the third round now. AC-130 gets crazy aggressive, picks off Dan early. Danmar goes super aggressive in the left house, actually gets a trade. AC-130 is just chasing that down. That's a third pick, and it's 3 for 1, and Mr. Smokums the off instantly has to back up here, and that's going to be a just pretty much an instant win. That was very dominant there for Fantasy Foosball. Very frustrated that they lost that first round.
Yes, AC-130 seems to be built a little different on Bagel, actually managing to outscore even their medic. Not something you often see in sixes. Can't really see exactly how many kills they have right now, but it must be a lot. But Mr. Smokums trying to take the space back. Siege dropped very, very low. Meanwhile, Nines taking space on point, has to back off a little bit. Both teams getting very close to that Uber. An exchange probably going to come out. AC-130 looking for it. Walking across point, Atlas going to get a pack really quick. Both teams just peeking, prodding. Mr. Smokums has to do something. They have to try and recap their burning time right now. They have presence in their house. What are they going to do with it? Atlas is walking across points, taking space. The Uber comes out. Stranger dropped very, very low to some spam. They're walking across. Dan is dodging. He gets arrowed, and Code doesn't even have to use. Chooses to Uber or arrow the demo instead of even using with the exchange, knowing that they're up so many players. If they can save this Uber, this could be a huge advantage. And now, even though Fantasy Foosball was able to burn off a minute, they are full dis-ad, and Mr. Smokums is in the driver's seat here.
Yeah, Bliss tried to go for a very aggressive med pick there. It didn't work out. It was kind of unnecessary, but there goes another aggressive push from Atlas there. Atlas is going to get picked off. 2 aggressive, unnecessary pushes here. All they have to do is play around each other. And here comes the pressure out from Fantasy Foosball, although here comes the aggressive Uber from Mr. Smoke'em's Day Off. This time Stranger is completely out, and so is AT. Although, as I say that, actually, AT craters to the Uber, but that was a lot better played from Fantasy Foosball. They're already trying to bust out here. Trumon takes a lot of damage, does get juggled back in. The right side is actually completely free for Fantasy Foosball. Damar is just out here, has complete space. Here comes the rest of the team just taking the right side. Here comes the bomb across from Trumon just to clear out some space. Danmar gets up. Here comes the big high bomb from Siege right onto AT's head. AT has no idea. Here comes the pressure from Atlas trying to get another cleanup kill. Is not going to be able to get any more damage. And that's a 1-for-1. But the demo pick is very crucial here. Trumon very low on this left side. He's going to hope to get a bow from his medic, although he's actually going to back up and get the pack. And here comes the aggression from AC-130 with the 25% Uber advance, and they get the point.
Poor AT, man. He dies, spawns in, immediately gets bombed, and dies again. Fantasy Foosball able to recap it using the Uber advantage, and everything is about to even out. So we're going to have an even fight once again. There's Ko getting to his 100% charge. A lot of stickies over here on Mr. Smoke'em's side of the point. Nine's not really clearing him out, but he debts. Meanwhile, looking at the sticky trap, I missed the entire fight. Somehow Mr. Smoke'em's drops both their soldiers. And Atlas goes down on the flank. And with that, Fantasy Foosball able to take the space down a single soldier. Their forward hold won't be quite as strong, but they're going to be able to make it a little bit annoying for Mrs. Wilkins to walk in here. Blitz walking in on concrete, tries to make the space, backs up. Atlas actually says, AC-130, I don't care about the stories. I fight you, I kill you. And with that pick, they're going to be able to get some heavy pressure on the point here. And Atlas in on Stranger through the house. Not able to get the kill, gets picked up by Local Man. The bomb from Siege a little bit too late to finish off the medic. Danmar's stuck in though. Too low to rocket jump, gets pistol down. Now Nines is in a fight with AC-130. AC-130 after respawning comes out, gets a revenge kill. And Mr. Smokers is able to be able to hold this point. Are they? They're backing up.
Yeah, well, they're down one player, so here comes the pressure from Fantasy Foosball. Well, they have 3 people on this point. They're able to instantly recap. Here comes the aggressive Uber from Mr. Smoke'em's Day Off. Here comes the Uber exchange. This time, there's no bomb again. No explosive bomb. Neither of these teams have done explosive bombs. AT gets a little too aggressive, gets caught out. Here comes the counter bomb from Siege. Stranger does hit a nice surf. Here comes the bomb across into the other house from Danmar, but they're down 2, and they're going to have to leave, and Danmar's going to get juggled in this house. He does get 1 kill, does get eventually traded. Trumon tries to save him, and also gets killed, and it's just AC-130 and Stranger trying to meet back up with the 2 respawners here. But, wow, again, now it's these Ubers are not working out well for either team, really. They keep going aggressive, but then when the other team has the better Uber, they're just not getting, like, a soldier to bomb. You need a soldier in Ubers on Koth. It's
gotta
so
have
important.
that explosive class.
Yeah.
Gotta get him in there. Get him in there, flash him, let him wreak havoc. Fantasy Foosball walking back out. They had a slightly better spawn wave because they didn't have point. They're taking point, but AT getting too aggressive once again, gets taken down by Dan's stickies. Well placed. And with that, the demo pick and the scout pick, Atlas takes down Local Man, doming him, says, I own you now. They're gonna be able to hold on to this point. The fight just not going Fantasy Foosball's way, and these players are just staying in when they have no need to be. You're down 2, back out. They're bleeding kills. They're maybe getting a little bit stressed, M17. The pressure is on. It's IM lower bracket finals. Now Mr. Smoke'em's gonna run this into overtime. Fantasy Foosball has to get out. They have to use the Uber just to get through the door, just to bomb ATN so they can get some amount of cap time. It's such a better Uber from Mr. Smoke'em's. They're down 1 player, but can the better Uber ring out? They get 2 kills. They get 3 kills. AT is down. Both soldiers are down. The scout is down. And with that, they regress. There's a lot of cap time, though. A lot of cap time. And Mr. Smoke'em's has worse spawns. AC-130 is trying to fight the world right now. He's dropped low, but Stranger's left untouched. Finally, Nines is on Stranger, shooting him. AC-130 gets piped. 2 HP, gets taken out. AT's bombing back in. Dang, gets taken down. The better spawns from Fantasy Foosball get here first. The reinforcements, the cavalry is here. It's a complete chaotic fight. Local Man now, he's the hero. Can he be the hero twice in a row? Danmar bombs in. Local Man, 6 HP, gets taken down. Will they be able to get more spawns? M17, the race. AC-130 is in with Stranger. They're able to touch the points. They're able to get on it.
This fight is never ending. Here comes AT. He's gonna get trapped on point. They're actually gonna secure the point. Wow, that was such a crazy situation. Oh my goodness. They are down about a 20% Uber ad though, and I think Mr. Smoke'em is actually, they're already pressuring before even they get Uber. This is very crazy from them. Stranger catches a pipe. Siege gets a pick on the Trumon in the left house. Ness is, or AC-130 is trying to hold this off. Here, a push from the right house came through. Blitz is right behind, and they're not able to hold it off. Mr. Smokeums just forces them off, gets the cap, and that's a second round for Mr. Smokeums to stay off. After that first,
risky.
Yeah, it's just so much crazy fighting here, and I think, like you were saying, there's too much bleeding players, right? It's just too much fighting by yourselves, too much all trying to beat the hero at the same time.
They all want to be the main character on 17. They know it's being casted by Fireside. They know it's gonna be good content for the good people. So coming into the fourth mid fight here, this time Dan not immediately. I was about to say Dan not immediately exploding AT, and look what he does. He instantly gets the enemy demo once again. He has his number. But Mr. Smokeum's backing up. AC-130 walking across, doesn't care that he doesn't have a demo because they're up 2 other players. A soldier and a scout are down on the side of Mr. Smokeum's. They're walking forward, trying to use that spam. AC-130 getting dropped pretty low. It's a back and forth mid fights. Once again, AC-130 holding down this point, preventing Fantasy Foosball from capping. Both Nines and Blitz dropping very low. Medic eating a little bit of spam too. Both medics getting Uber, but Blitz takes down local man in the house. And with that, Mr. Smokeums looks like they're gonna be able to finally cap and win yet another mid fight.
Although, as we say that, AC-130 is still kind of aggressive, so is AT. That's a bunch of picks there. AC-130 he still wants to fight this. He really wants to fight, even when he's 3v2. Here comes the spawner from Local Man, and since Trumon is here, this is actually better from them. Trumon needs to get aggressive. He's going to get through the right house instantly. Atlas is ready to know about it. Trumon doesn't bomb, decides to just back off because he got spotted. But Fantasy Foosball, were able to get the point off of that. That was some crazy aggression there from AC-130. They have control of this point here, Fantasy Foosball does. Although, here comes the flank push from Mr. Smokeum stay off. Trumon gets a bunch of damage and lives very smartly. Here comes AC-130 just trying to get a little bit of pressure, relief, take back the house. Here comes a reshove from Mr. Smokeum stay off on that right house. Atlas picks off Danmar, and even though they're so low, they have that player pick, which is really huge, so they're going to be able to slowly heal up, and then they're going to try to push back through. Here comes a single push from Siege. Siege has no idea Trumon is there, but Trumon misses a shot, misses another shot. Siege is actually able to win the fight in left house. Atlas actually picked off Local Man on the side, and that's down 2. Atlas is now behind, trying to go for another kill. Blitz is in again. Too much player feeding. That's down 3 now. They just had everybody go in trying to chase the med, and
they just got points, M17.
What a no!
They just got it, M17. How can they throw it away so quickly?
I don't know. All this player feeding has really gotten to them, and Fantasy Foosball has now just set up a nice, strong forward hold with AT having a trap on his right side. And he's gonna, wow, they have the 2-person setup with their demo on the right side. This is definitely a strong hold. Well, actually, they rotate Trumon over to the left. AT already gets a trap kill in the Blitz. We'll see how this hold works out for them.
I think if either one of these teams just starts playing a little bit more controlled, a little bit more carefully, they're gonna run away with it. Both the teams seem pretty even matched in DM, but there's just, the fights have been crazy. They don't stop, they want more. Meanwhile, Mr. Smokeum's taking space in on the left. They're able to take out Local Man. They're able to take out Trumon, catching these players out. The burst through the big door was too strong. Dan hits a nice pipe on AC-130, and with that up 3, a very clean fight. They're gonna be able to recap this no problem and set up a forward hold of their own. Hopefully try and bleed some time off. Danmar once again just slow to leave. These players are not respecting player ad. Trumon actually somehow picks up a kill on the soldier on concrete, living with, never mind. Atlas says, let me pick that up. Let me take it to the bank. Fantasy Foosball with the slightly better spawns now, walking out of big door, taking the space. They weren't able to lock them out at all. Oh, Nine's dropping very low, has to back off, get an arrow from the Co. And with that, AC-130 getting very aggressive. They use the Uber aggressively. Let's see how the collapse is. Mr. Smokeum's walking across points. AC-130 is in. On Siege in the house. Local Man dropped very low and finished off by Nines. Eats a pipe from Dan or a sticky, one of the two. Dan is just piping the world right now, but the bomb coming in. Danmar catches Nines slacking, says, you better look up, buddy, I'm on the roof. Meanwhile, Trumon 1v1ing Siege. Maybe the MGE goes differently this time in that house. And Fantasy Foosball able to recap this using their slightly better spawns. Mr. Smokeum still waiting for their scout to return.
Yeah,
once again.
Yeah, AT took a lot of damage there on the point. It's just a bit of trading off the point. This is something you see a lot of the time on Bagel, because Bagel is like the fastest mid cap of any cost map by far. you'll see a lot of the point changing hands and people trying to fight point, and while one team caps, the other team has a player stand on the point to try to stop it. As we do have a pause here, not sure which team that's from, but based on the amount of time left in the round, I wouldn't be surprised if it was either team who paused after a round loss just to, get their bearings, refresh, try to, figure out what's going on and see how they can improve it. But yeah, like we've been saying, both of these teams are going for a lot of crazy chases. From players, even when it's like I feel like it's not necessary. A lot of the times on Koth, besides the medic, generally you're when the medic is close enough to Uber, generally the med generally picks aren't really worth it besides the med, and even the medic isn't huge unless he's close to Uber because the real thing about Uber is that it just buys your team more time to hold the point, and your entire goal on Koth is to get time off that clock, and you have to be very careful because you always want to have a strong enough hold, because if you lose a bunch of players, the other team just takes back the point for free.
Yeah, the last thing you want to do when you control the points is die for free. There's no reason to take an ego fight. There's no reason to go for picks. If you have the points, you're already winning. You're bleeding time. It's on the enemies to do something. Let them take the initiative. Because if they don't, you're just going to win eventually. There's no reason to go for anything risky when you have the point. That's for the players trying to take the points back. But these teams, they don't fully seem to realize that concept. A lot of times, we just saw it. One team capping the point and then immediately just over chasing and half their team dying, letting the enemy team just take the space for free once again. Once you get that cap, time to play defensively, time to force the enemy to go for an exchange that you can hopefully have a better Uber on and then collapse, or force them to try and take space through these doorways across stickies, everything that you can do to eke out a little bit of an advantage to make it just more annoying for them to play the game instead of just going for like a bomb or a flank play or something like that. It's really interesting that they're playing this more like, I don't know, it's an MGE. 6v6 MGE.
That's what it's. I don't know. Yeah, I think basically the teams think it's so important to get these kills that they're chasing and risking their own lives for it. And it's turning into NG, like you were saying. One thing I think that's really important though, that's keeping AC-130's team alive, is a lot of times, even though they're not having like the greatest Ubers, he's able to dance around on the high ground with that scout movement, that double jump and the air strafing, and he's just drawing so much attention and delaying the other team so much while not even taking that much damage. And it's really huge for fantasy foosball. Excuse me. It's really saving them from having this be a total catastrophe. Looking at the current situation though, it looks like Stranger was just about to get Uber, so it's going to be an even Uber situation. And from if I remember correctly, fantasy foosball had about maybe a 30 or 40-second time advantage on the point, and they also have point, which means this definitely is looking better for fantasy foosball in this round at least, as compared to the 2-round reverse sweeps. And looking at the scoreboard, I think we can definitely tell that AC-130 and Dan were definitely the players to watch, and yeah. I'm sure we'll see that again. We'll see that in the logs too.
AC-130 popping off, Dan popping off as well. Has it been 3 mid-fights now? No, not the first mid-fight, but the other 2 mid-fights. Dan has just walked in and annihilated AT across the point. Just sticky after sticky have landed, and the demo just dies with the support from a little bit of support from Nines shooting him down. It's honestly a bit of a diff on the demo there. I also think Ko is, while these fights are not always going the way, I think Ko is managing to get out just a little bit more than Stranger. And on Koth, the more you can be at Uberad, that's letting them just bleed more time. Even though it's been double overtime for 2 rounds, I feel like if Ko wasn't living, it would be 2-1 in fantasy foosball's player instead of Mr. Boki's favor. Meanwhile, the game is resuming.
Yeah,
Dan dies instantly.
The can ties to the AT trap. Damar gets to pick on the Atlas. 9 gets to pick on Local Man. Bomb from, I believe that is Danmar. Yep, does get nothing out of it. Just backs up here. Still even Ubers on both teams. Fantasy Foosball has control of the point. They're just standing around here, a little bit of floating, but here comes the pressure from Mr. Smokeum's Day Off. Here comes the Uber from Fantasy Foosball and the immediate counter Uber from Mr. Smokeum's Day Off, but AT had to get flashed quite a bit. We are in overtime here, I believe, unless that's wrong on my screen, but
we are.
Yeah, Dan dies, or Dan gets a kill on the local man with the trap. AT is trying to get some kills. Trumon gets a kill on the left house into Atlas. That's a big pick there, as this fight is just going to keep going on, and Mr. Smoke's Day Off has to do something.
The overtime, it's running out. They need to get somebody on point. Dan walking forward, Nines walking forward. But Fantasy Foosball wants to get this. Nines, if he dies, that could be it. Now you don't have a scout on point. Dan's going to have to hold this down. The overtime, you have to stay on point. Atlas, he hops on. They have better spawns. They're pressuring, but AC-130 takes out Atlas. Danmar takes out Siege. AC-130 walking across point, annihilated Koas, assassinating him. And it's up to Dan, and now finally up to Blitz alone. The overtime taking out Nines, not even going to be able to get here. And with that, Fantasy Foosball manages to tie it up 2-2. Even with the slightly better spawns for Mr. Smokums, AC-130 able just to walk across, get the key kills, kills the demo, kills the medic, and at that point, you aren't holding that anymore. The round's over.
Yeah, and after that, we have confirmed that that was, it seems like a tactical pause by Mr. Smoke's Day Off after they lost this round. So it's a 2-2 scoreline here. Still anybody's game for this first map as we go into the 5th mid. AT catches a pipe instantly, although actually, I believe he piped Ko as well. That's a big pick. 2 versus 2 fight happening in this house over here. Danmar gets a pick on the Blitz. Atlas gets low, but gets out. Danmar did get low to 7 HP, but does get out alive, and that's a 1-player ad for Fantasy Foosball. They get another pick onto Siege. That's 2 players. Atlas is probably going to get killed here, too. There goes Atlas. Nines might get picked here as well. Excuse me. Nines barely gets out, and that's a 3-player ad. They're going to set up a forward hold here.
They solved the mid fights, M17. They didn't let AT immediately die to Dan, and they won. They used their flank power to just pressure those houses. Once they got control of the houses, it's really hard to hold the points. And Atlas actually switching to Sniper, takes out Truman over here on the big door. Let's see if they go for another peek. Peek into mid. Fantasy Foosball backing up, respecting the sightline. In fact, they're just playing players in right house here. All the way back across the point. I'm guessing they're going to want to take an aggressive Uber exchange, not let the Sniper get any more value. Stranger cowering behind the points. And Atlas is back on Scout. Got the 1 pick, got the space for their team. Now they're backing up, but Mr. Smokums has not been able to capitalize on this at all. Even with the kill on Local Man, they haven't been able to recap. Oh, AT getting a little bit aggressive, drops super, super low, and Mr. Smokums with the player ad is able to finally recap the points. Fantasy Foosball did a good job of bleeding as much time as they could, and now they're going to have to refight this themselves, try and get some space, try and get some damage, but Stranger dropping very, very low. A bomb could have spelled disaster for Fantasy Foosball there, but there was not follow-up on the damage. They're walking back in. Stranger able to get the pack. AT getting piped immediately across point by Dan, but Trumon takes out Atlas in the house. Siege gets revenge. I mean, Siege, that was a trade or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was
the scoreboard.
Yeah, there's been a lot of fighting here in this right house. Blitz goes very low. Local Man's going to get the kill there. That's 2 versus 1, although Mr. Smokums does have the point. But Local Man gets directed by Siege, who does get out and does get cleaned up by 9. It's a 4-on-4, but Atlas is a spawner and he's going to get here early. Trumon gets bombed behind by Siege. Siege does get the kill. Is going to back off, get some help. And Mr. Smokeup's the office is just going to take the point back with their 2-player ad. It looks like Fantasy Foosball is staying very aggressive, even though they only have 3 players. This is a very risky decision here. AC-130 is going to barely sneak his way out of there. And Mr. Smokeup's the office is going to try to get some strong setup going. Danmar already trying to bust the right. Dan picks off AC-130, although huge double pipe from AT. Does 200 damage with 1 pipe. Trumon gets the cleanup kills. Big bomb from Siege. High bomb finally working out, is going to get the force on the Stranger, and even though they're down 3, they're just going to, Fantasy Foosball, or Mr. Spoken's the office is going to back up, and Fantasy Foosball is now down in Uber, and even though Fantasy Foosball gets the point here, Mr. Smokeum's the off will get their spawners, and they'll have a nice big 80% Uber advantage that they're going to use to work in and take this point back, although that Uber advantage is dwindling, and the longer they take, the more time's off the clock, and the more, the less higher of a chance that Uber has of working.
Mr. Smokums taking space now. If I were Fantasy Foosball, I'd wait for them to cap first, but they're not. They're just going for the 4-man, and Ko is forced to use Uber. Sees all those players coming in. They weren't baiting in main, so they used very, very quickly. I didn't exactly see what happened, but I can kind of agree with that. They're going to be able to set up a forward hold sometimes on these Koth maps. Even if you're like 130, 140 HP as medic, if you see that demo ends 2 soldiers flying at you, you might as well just use, because you're probably going to get forced anyways, and you don't want to die from 150. Fantasy Foosball immediately trying to take back the space. We had Atlas hiding behind, able to drop Stranger very, very low, but doesn't even get the force or the kill. And with that, Mr. Smokers was down 2 players. They aren't even going to be able to go for the counter 4-man immediately on this cap either. Fantasy Foosball is going to be able to take this point for free and then probably set up a forward hold of their own. I'm not sure I agree with having the players go for the hide plays rather than just wait for Fantasy Foosball to cap and then rip the 4-man instead. Because if they don't get it like they didn't, then it's just really bad. You waste even more time. Mr. Smokeum's able to walk back out.
They really need to coordinate those bombs. Yeah, here comes the bomb from Trumon in on Ko. They have no idea, but Trumon beats everything. Oh no! That's a big decision there. Danmark gets killed. Now that's down 2. It's 4v4 here, and since Mr. Smokeum's day off did have Uber, that's going to save them. AT gets bowed after Siege got behind. Another crazy aggressive kill. Atlas and Dan are in on the other side. AT goes down. AC-130 is solo, is going to have to back up. Here come the reinforcements from the soldiers. Nothing that's going to happen. No, huge fight, though, as Mr. Smokeum had just backed off. Dan is very aggressive, is going to get bombed, but is going to get saved by a nice arrow from Ko. And that's going to mean a 6-on-6 fight here. AC-130 is already re-pressuring the point. They do have a bit of a time disad. Here comes Blitz in from the side with a nice jungle air shot. Beautiful from Blitz. That's going to completely take control of the point. Fantasy Foosball did get another kill in the form of AC, and even though Blitz has that house control, but they do back up as soon as they get the point. Danmark goes in for a bomb. Dan is super low, but Danmark gets piped. He's still not able to get the kill. He dies to the fall damage. Dan is so low. Cannot get out. Trumon beats the bomb. Is trying to get back out now. It's 5v5. Both teams have Uber. This is going to turn into a crazy last fight as Mr. Smokeum's Day Off are already refighting for the point.
Getting very close to overtime once again. And the Uber comes out from AC-130. Stranger taking a pipe or something, has to pop. Slightly better Uber. Dan's getting involved too, chasing AC-130 across, but they're able to completely disengage. 0 kills for either Uber. 9 still staying very aggressive, but Fantasy Foosball, they want to fight this. They want to recap. All they need is cap, and they win the round. Dan dropped very low, gets bowed up by Ko. Meanwhile, a fight over here. Nines and Siege, 2v1 Trumon. Take him out. That's going to give them a 1-player advantage. AT getting spammed across the points. And with the demo pick, it's going to be very, very hard. And Danmar bombs in, gets taken out as well. It's turned into a full-on desperation fight for the side of Fantasy Foosball. Meanwhile, Mr. Smokeum just has to clean up these scouts, but both these scouts are going across. They're dodging the rockets like it's the Matrix. AC-130, once again, fighting the world on last. And they just aren't quite able to stay on points. 0 seconds to 0 seconds for the 3rd time in this crazy bagel match. Ooh.
Yeah, this is insane. One thing that I still have to know is Dan is just absolutely popping off. I cannot wait to see the logs, and I have a feeling Dan is just absolutely farming. And let's see how this mid-fight transpires again. Dan and AT going right at it. Dan does get a bit more damage onto AT, but nothing huge. Siege, actually, there's a 2-person push in the left house here. They're finally trying to get some re-aggression, but Fantasy Foosball is just much lower on HP. There was a right-sided push as well from the flank of Fantasy Foosball. Gets nothing there. It's 6-on-6. AC-130 goes very aggressive trying to pick off Siege, although Siege does back out with some rockets on the wall to secure their life. Dan is going aggressive again, gets another pipe onto AT, although it's not enough. This time Blitz and Nines die in the right house. Danmar and Local Main are going to get aggressive. That's 2 down. That's 3 down from a Trumon kill onto Siege. Here comes the 4th in as Atlas tried to get a kill maybe onto Stranger or something. But that's 4 down, and that's a mid-fight 1, even though it looked like Fantasy Foosball was so low on HP there.
A mid-fight 1 without dropping a single player. It's going to let them set up a forward hold. They're actually choosing to play AT over here on the right by Concrete instead of Big Door. Not the classic forward hold. Normally you have your soldiers over there on Concrete and your demo over here on Big Door, because the stickies prevent the enemy team from just walking through like they just did. But AC-130 able to pick up a kill on Siege. 8 enough damage that the scattergun shot was able to finish him off. And with that, it's going to be a 5v6. Blitz dying in house, and Nines going down to a lock and load pipe across the points. And Fantasy Foosball able to win the second fight, the second even fights. Neither team choosing to use Uber at all. Mr. Smokeum's realizing they're down players, backs it up, and Stranger, no reason to use, no sack for them. We're now a minute and something in. Nobody's used Uber, and Mr. Smokums has yet to even really get any presence on this point. They're looking to now, though, taking some space, managing to find the kill on Danmar. A great bomb in there.
Blitz actually, yeah, Blitz got another kill into Local Man, and because of those two picks, they're able to just take the point back. No Ubers have been used from either team. I'm surprised Fantasy Foosball didn't try to go for an aggressive Uber exchange to try to delay more time off the point. They're actually still trying to fight through right. Stranger gets killed from Atlas on the side. That is no good. Atlas is still behind, going for some crazy 1v1 fights. Does finally get punished, but that first pick on the medic is huge. Here comes AT and both the scouts. It looks like they're going for a 3-man sack. Here they come. AT is bombing in very deep. Koa's in a pretty good spot. AT gets nothing. Local Man gets nothing. AC-130 is still alive, but does decide to back out. And that was their attempt at a 4-man, and since they don't get anything, that's going to be pretty good for Mr. Smoke'em's Day Off. Although, as we say that, they do still have explosives, and they're going to get them set up pretty advanced with a lot of health. Dan's got plenty of time to set up their traps, so they are ready.
Yes, Atlas there. Getting that medic pick is able to completely even this game out because now they're disad. They're going to have to take space, maybe even go for a 4-man here. Danmar tries to make that space for their team, instantly gets taken out. I guess having the soldier over there really paid dividends for him. Bombed in, was able to get some damage. And with that, Fantasy Foosball, they're just waiting. They didn't even attempt the 4-man at all. Ubers have now finally evened out, but so has the time advantage that Fantasy Foosball once had. Local Man able to just run through and assassinate Dan. The demo pick, it's turning into a crazy fight now.
Cole just dropped on the point from pipes from AT and spam. No, that's a huge misplay. Nines goes in, does get piped instantly. Siege goes in for a bomb. Stranger with a nice serve, even in the closed area, and that's a full wipe. Mr. Smoker, or Mr. Smokers, yeah, excuse me, Mr. Yeah, sorry.
We dropped M17.
I guess you could say that, yeah. Although maybe it's a little bit more because because Mr. Smoke'em's Day Off is in not a good spot here, though. As we say that Atlas has swapped onto Spy. We saw the sniper earlier, but this time Atlas has just come out of spawn on Spy. We'll see how they try to break this forward hold. AT is on the right side and both soldiers are on the left. Atlas gets rocketed instantly. Nothing gonna happen. Atlas is still considering coming out. Here comes the 3-man from Fantasy or Mr. Smoke'em's Day Off. They actually do get the force, and Atlas is still alive on Spy, and he is committed. He is through, and he gets something instantly and dies. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
I was gonna say there wasn't. I was really worried because there was not any follow-up damage on Stranger, and Stranger was 15 HP, and they used anyways. I was like, if they're milking this and Atlas just decloaks and
Danmar was wall-looking and gets the force. Oh my goodness, in the left side near the big door. That was huge. Nobody had used that, I don't think, this entire match. Here comes the crowd. Stranger with a nice serve after the bomb, but Stranger was a little caught up, does get killed by Nines. Wow. That just turned from 1 to 100 very quickly. AC-130 is trying to fight Nines. They're still trying to fight even though they're down the medic because they have the player advantage. They have to get this kill onto Atlas. Atlas does sneak away, and because of that, Mr. Smoke'em's Day Off is going to be able to re-push here, and they have a 30% Uber advantage, although they are down more than half the time on the clock. Here comes the push out from Mr. Smoke'em's Day Off. They take control of the space very quickly. They're already pushing out that right house. Now they're going to slowly start working their way onto the point.
How do we go from basically no medic deaths to 5 medic deaths in 30 seconds? Meanwhile, AT gets revenge on Dan. Finally, the trap finds him. Trumon finishing off Atlas, and Fantasy Foosball is going to be able to hold on to this point. Do they take this Uber ad? 4v6, they do. Nines goes in, trying to finish off AC-130. He's got fancy feet, able to buy time for his team. Stranger backing up across concrete, and because AC-130 was in, Siege, meanwhile, bombing into the house, trades with Danmar. Both soldiers dead. Fantasy Foosball not wanting to give up this cap. Atlas fighting the world on points, gets taken down, and with that, it's left up to
Oh my god, AT, what a pipe, oh my goodness.
And Fantasy Foosball ties it up once again, 3-3. 7th round bagel. Ooh. This is giving me flashbacks of my amateur season M17.
This is an insane back and forth game. I can't wait to see the 7th and final mid fight on this map. There's no overtime on Koth. It's just the final round. Oh, well, except for like each round's overtime, but there's no like, you know, infinite overtime until one team reaches a certain round. It's just you know, a certain number of rounds won. Big bomb here on the left side. Both soldiers are on the left. Siege gets some nice rockets off. Barely lives. Trumont is still very aggressive in this left house here, although Mr. Smokeham's Day Off has control over the opposite left house. AC-130 trying to get some pressure. Siege takes a bunch of damage on multiple players here. AT is very aggressive on point. AC-130 just takes over the aggression. AC-130 is incredibly aggressive on this left side. They do grab the point, but Atlas gets a kill into Danmark. That's another kill. Siege gets a kill on the left house, I believe, onto the soldier, and that's 2 down. Dan is getting incredibly aggressive here. Does decide to back out. Stranger is going to barely sneak his way out of there, and that's down 2, and Mr. Smokeham's Day Off take control of the point back, and they're going to get a strong setup going, although AC-130 is already through onto Dan, but he beefs! But AT does get the trade kill onto Dan. That was very, very needed there.
Mr. Smokeham's now down a demo, going to make it a lot harder to hold this. They have to back up, let Fantasy Foosball take the space. Can't hold the doors without a demo man alive, but Atlas going for the flank play, and he's able to just 2-shot Stranger. Just walks in, assassinates him. Bro thinks he's still playing spy, but somehow it worked out. Trumont instantly in, trying to go for the sack, doesn't get anything. Co very smartly baiting in Big Door. Let's see, do any of the other players try and go for the hero play on the medic? And with that, a medic dropped. Mr. Smokers is going to be able to walk back out, retake the point instantly, and have full Uber ad. But wait a second, Danmar has other plans. They say full Uber ad. Oh, what is going on, M17?
They got 2 players in behind, but if Mr. Smokeham's Day Off were completely unaware and those players were able to collapse, they grabbed 2 kills. Even when the Uber came out, they now have a big Uber advantage. They're going to take control of the point. That was huge.
That was crazy. The force and 3 kills with that sack.
I don't know how that happened at all. I'm very confused. AC-130 takes a lot of damage on the point. Here comes the pressure from Mr. Smokeham's Day Off. They're already trying to take back the point. They have about a 30-second Uber advantage. Trumont gets flanked behind by Atlas. That's a big kill. Atlas is already running through the left house, is putting up some pressure. AT takes some damage. Atlas smartly backs out, but that pressure is going to get a lot of damage onto AT. AT is very low. Everyone on blue is down a decent amount of health here. I'm surprised they're still able to hold this point for so long. Actually, no, they lost the point. Excuse me.
They just lost it,
and yeah, here comes the pressure.
Meanwhile, over here in the left house, being bullied out by Local Man and Danmar, but Atlas runs in, says, you can't bully my Danmar. I'll kill you for that. And AT also gets a revenge kill on Dan for all those times he died in those mid-fights. Atlas continuing to W in, gets picked off by AT again. And with that, Mr. Smokers is gonna have to back up, and Fantasy Foosball has control of the points. Let's see, do they decide to go for the forward hold, down a couple players? Once again, playing their soldiers over by Big Door. AT holding down Concrete instead. Wonder if this is a scrim tactic.
Yeah, it looks like this is their normal tactic. AT gets a kill, but dies instantly. That's a huge trade kill. Being down on demo is very bad on call. Atlas is through the left side as well, and he's able to actually cause him damage trade to Danmar there. Those soldiers are spamming from Mr. Smokeham's Day Off, and because of that demo death, they just take back the point, although AC-130 is incredibly aggressive. Both teams have Uber. I'm surprised they haven't gone for the patented AC-130 Uber exchange here. AC-130 is just dancing around trying to get some kills. Local Man dies in the right house. Danmark gets a kill, but then gets traded off. That's a 4v5 here. AC-130 trades off the kill again, and with AT, I believe, just coming in here, it's now a 4-on-4. Since Mr. Smokeham's has the point, they are going to get, they are going to play it nice and safe. Although, as the pressure comes back from the Fantasy Foosball, Mr. Smokeham's Day Off does an Uber exchange, and they pick 2. Stranger drops 2 players. That's huge, and they're going to have to back up here now, down 2. They are going to still try to pressure, but Siege gets a little bit crazy, a little bit aggressive, just doing some bomb to pressure. They're not very committing though to anything crazy, as even though they have those 2 players, they're just sitting around the point, taking it nice and slow, getting their players healed up, and we'll see how Fantasy Foosball decides to refight this. Now they got all the players here.
You can't be dropping those Ubers, man. Can't be dropping the players. Danmar bombing in, taking space, no, just fading. And with that, Fantasy Foosball actually able to somehow just walk on a point and get the recap for free once their players are back. AC-130 trying to lock it down, trying to prevent Mr. Smokers from recapping this, want to burn off as much time as they possibly can. It's a minute to 30 seconds. I hope we see another double overtime. It would be crazy. Mr. Smokums, just as I was saying that, able to get the recap. Burning time, 20 seconds. They're just stalling. Dan getting a little bit aggressive, eating some spam, dropping low.
Yeah, the players on...
The aggressive Uber exchange coming out from Nines, though.
Yeah, it's huge. They do drop 2 players even though the other team was so low. It's a bit of just chaos here. Mr. Smokum's day off has to hold this down, and fantasy foosball is really the ones who are they are the ones who forced to have to do something. They grab the point, but it's only 5 seconds left. They have to fight this if they don't want to lose. A bunch of pressure here from both scouts on the point. They do hold down this point for now. AT gets killed by Siege. That is a big pick. That's going to allow Dan to get very aggressive. AC 130 does get forced off of the point. Mr. Smokums takes it, and here comes Fantasy Foosball. They get a ton of time, and
we've been scammed, M17.
oh
STV.
no,
They did
made
it in
a
like 3 minutes.
mistake. No,
We can't see the end. No, dude. How could they do this to us? M17, let me tell you a little story. This last week, I go to the movie theater to watch Dune Part 2. We're right at the climax, the big fight, and the power goes out in the movie theater. So I don't get to see the ending, and I'm immediately feeling that exact feeling once again.
Well,
They're cutting me off from seeing the ending.
Unfortunately, because of that ending, we're going to have to tell you that. Surprisingly, they did it in front of the IM admin, but they Fantasy Foosball won the round. Very close. It was a very close round, it seems, but Fantasy Foosball picked up the round win, and they are going to win the map. They are going to win map 1 here. And looking at the logs, like we were saying, I think Dan popped the fuck off. He had almost 100 damage per minute more than he took. He did 410 damage per minute on Bakel compared to AT's 373 and 377 taken. Yeah, looking at the logs, let me see what else we see here. Ooh, one other thing I noticed about the logs, we'll get those logs pulled up in 1 second here. Sorry about that. Yeah, just got them in there, and let me get these over to our producer. Just 1 second.
I told you Dan would drop at least 400.
Well, yeah,
you.
yeah, you said that. The other thing to note, though, is Stranger actually had 12 deaths compared to Ko's 5. Ko's playing is a lot safer, yet somehow they're losing. That's very crazy. I think just
Yeah.
the excessive player feeding. I mean, even looking at the kills, though, actually, Mr. Smoke's DF had 13 more kills, and they had almost 5. That's like 4,500 more damage. But that one drop, I guess, from Co helped. No, Stranger had 2 drops. Wait a minute. Wow, that must have just been some like. I think they're just going too aggressive. They're not playing the.
I mean, Mr. Smokums did kill everybody, basically everybody, cap the point, and then just immediately feed 3 players and give the cap back over. They were making plays like that. So even though they had more kills, more damage, less medic deaths, they somehow lose. That is very, very interesting. You often don't see that, especially on Koth. Usually Koths, it's so DM heavy. If your medic is dying less and you're getting more kills, you would think you would win. Should be that simple. Although, Fantasy Foosball did manage to win 6 mid fights to Mr. Smokum's 1 mid fight. Maybe it was just them not being able to recap quick enough. They didn't have the time to burn off, even though they were winning fights after the mids were said and done.
Yeah, we have a bit of trash talk from somebody in the chat there. Someone being very confident that they are going to win in the grand finals. We'll see. Anyways, as we move on to the second map here, product. The product was. Product was the map pick of Mr. Smokum's day off. Yeah.
Who thinks they're winning? Where's the chat message?
I would say it's this person called A2. I don't know. I've heard of them before.
A2?
Anyways, going back to these logs, I do want to say something. AC 130 didn't actually do as well as we thought. I mean, he was all over and he had like the second highest kills it looks like, but if you look at it, Atlas actually had 49 kills, many more kills. And AC 130 actually took more damage than he dealt. I think the main thing was just that he was just alive for so long distracting, which allowed his players to just get so much value. I mean, yeah, and you just look at the damage. Mr. Smokeham's Day Off could have won this by the damage, but you know, I think it just shows that it's not all about the stats. Mr.
Mhm.
Smokeham's Day Off clearly did not play the game as smartly as fantasy foosball, and they lost because of it.
At the end of the day,
Except for
even
the med
on
deaths, of course.
yeah, except for the med deaths,
Of course,
it was the goat. He went 3-5. That's actually crazy.
that is a
Five
crazy
deaths,
stat line for
five
Medic.
deaths in 7 rounds. 7 rounds where a bunch of them went to double overtime. That's actually insane. Guy is
Yeah,
putting
in
on a show.
47 minutes. That's
He's
like
putting
the
on a show.
that's like the inverse of like when you would drop 7 times in a sultry match.
Whoa,
That's
whoa, whoa, whoa,
crazy.
listen, listen. We do
Anyways.
not have to bring that up every time I'm casting. Okay, we go one time without talking about the 7 drop official. Everybody's been there on Medic. If you played Medic, come on, who hasn't dropped 7 times at an official? Let's be honest.
I don't know, man. I don't think I've ever dropped 7 times in an official. Anyways, um, okay, yeah, second map here. One thing to note is I have a feeling that there will be sniper on this map. I have a good feeling that there will be a lot of sniper. I believe the snipers are AC 130 and Atlas. I could be wrong on that, but I believe that's correct.
A little bit of
Um,
SVS.
yeah, I expect we'll see some sniper. Maybe not like consistent sniper. I don't think it's like some of the other teams in IM, but like I do expect to see at least some sniper. If you didn't know, this is definitely sniper's best map. There's a lot of crazy angles. This is played in Highlander a lot, so you Highlander players would probably know a lot about how powerful sniper can be on this map.
They better not. I see people. Can we get a command? A Fireside, if you put a command linking to my 7 drop lock, I'm out.
hmm.
You can't be doing that.
Anyways, one important thing to note though is some differences between Bagel and this map, the other Koth map in the pool this season, for newcomer through main. Product is a little bit different in the sense that, like we said, it's more open, so sniper is more available, but that also gives soldiers a lot more of an opportunity to bomb. And the geometry might seem a little weird, but there's actually a couple of key bombs for the soldiers on both sides. Normally, one will play towards the cliff side, and one will play towards the connector or concrete side. And there's actually a couple of key bombs that both soldiers should be able to use to get pretty aggressive. So making sure you're paying attention and helping your teammates out and actually using your bombs this time rather than like just being aggressive through the houses is super important on this map. And that soldier aggression is also very important for dealing with the sniper because if you're juggled up by the soldier's rockets, you can't really go for the headshot, not consistently at least.
I've seen Jay do it before.
Yeah, I mean, sure, we've seen those crazy clips, but to be honest, in a real situation, those are only happen very infrequently, very rarely. So that's the real way you need to deal with sniper. Although the other big thing to note is that scout is pretty powerful on this map. So this is the map where the scouts for both teams really need to step up.
I am
Yeah,
slightly worried that if AC 130 goes for the sniper angle, we've already seen on Bagel just how much of an asset they are on Scout, making space, finding those key picks and just being a general nuisance. Unless they really consistently hit those shots on Sniper, they might lose a bit of that presence as a team that I don't think Mr. Smokums will lose by switching to Sniper. They seem a little bit more, I don't want to say well-rounded, but they seem less dependent on like their pocket scouts than fantasy foosball is on AC 130. AC 130 really seems to like control the flow of fantasy foosball and just like molds them to his will.
I think one of the other important things to mention about AC 130 on Sniper is that we've seen a lot of this soldier aggression from like even on Bagel, which is notoriously the less like crazy soldier bomb map. we were seeing a lot of aggression from the soldiers on Mr. Smokeham's day off. So if AC-130 goes sniper, that means one less scout to really deal with those soldier bombs. And I have a feeling we'll see some really crazy soldier bombs.
Ban that guy in chat. No, don't put it on stream. Somebody ban that guy. Make me a mod. Quick.
Wow, look at this. Those 7 drops in one game. Oh my goodness.
No, you can't
Anyways.
do this to me.
Man. I mean, some would say that it's a 70-minute
It was
game,
one
so it's
day.
kind of
I had 0
excused,
sleep. It was a
but
hard day at work.
Yeah. Teacher for what? Teacher for what? Anyways.
Oh my word.
The other important
This
thing
is
to note about
crazy.
this map is that although this map is a lot harder for your med to play like really safe, and if you're like the difference between where your med playing safe can be very, very difficult. It can be very it's a very small distance. So it'll have to be your med position will have to be very important on this map if you want to succeed. Anything in particular else you want to see on this map, or what you think you need to avoid seeing for the teams to be successful here, Theory?
On product, I think Mr. Smokeham's needs to play a little bit more controlled. They've shown that they have the damage, they can find the kills. They just need to not make plays that put them at a disadvantage when they don't need to. I think if they can just control themselves a little bit, not go for the crazy frags, not go for anything too risky when they have points, they could very, very easily turn this game around and win map 2. It was so close on Bagel. They were right there, but they just couldn't manage to pull it off. And I think it really boiled down to them just making some poor calls in terms of how aggressive they were being when they didn't need to be. And if they fix that for this map, I think very easily we would be moving on to a map 3.
Yeah, I still do feel like we're going to move on to a map 3. I feel like these teams are too close in skill to where we can't just we can't only have 2 maps. A 2-map lower bracket finals is exactly. We need the 3 maps, especially to make sure our producer has to stay for as long as possible.
Exactly.
Anyways.
All right, I'm messaging people on Fantasy Foosball right now.
Whoa!
They're gonna be throwing for content. I have a few
excuse
keys
you?
in my inventory.
Okay. Let's calm this down. That's not okay. Stop. Anyways, I'm gonna put my admin foot down here and tell you to stop promoting killing. That's not a good thing.
Should I not be telling that to the intermediate admin?
Yeah, it's almost as if you shouldn't do that in front of the admin. Especially the division, the team that you're playing in. That wouldn't be a good idea. One would think, but anyways.
You can't. M17's gonna. He took my div fees from me. Now he's never gonna give them back. Chat. We all know that these admins are living in the RGL mansion, right?
Alrighty. Someone's trying to spread some lies and conspiracy theories, clearly.
Yeah, they say conspiracy theory because they know I'm right. They have to discredit me anyway, any way they can.
Now you're gonna post the copy pasta of me buying my limousine with the RGL League fees.
Yeah, somebody get Blastball in here.
Okay. Let's relax. Anyways,
somebody's gifting subs. Thank you for supporting my stream.
Yeah, by the way, one thing that's really cool is Fireside merch, and there's also been a bunch of other merch. There's Anglerfish merch, I believe, still, and there's definitely, I believe, Rome merch and Mafia merch. There might even be more, I don't remember, but there's plenty of different merches you can check out. They're all pretty cool, so, while we've got a chance, feel free to check it out. It supports the casters, the cast and the whole setup directly. Yeah. As we are going to go live here onto this first mid fight, everyone's switching back onto their classes, and we'll see how everything pans out. Go ahead, 3Y.
Finally, I don't have to stall for time anymore. Talking about random things. All right, product mid. AT bombing it actually on this mid. That's an interesting demo rollout. And taking as much space as possible, but eating a lot of damage doing so. And Mr. Smokeham's walking forward, Dan laying down some pipes. We got the classic soldiers on Pride Walk just spamming. Siege bombing in on Damar on the flank. Damar doesn't see him, didn't look up. Manages to get the kill, and he's still behind being a nuisance over on Gretz. AC-130 looking for him, manages to back out, and with that kill, and the kill on Local Man, Mr. Smoke is going to be able to get a clean first mid here. Fantasy Foosball on the back foot.
Yeah, actually some aggression again. Siege and I believe that's Nines are already on the right side. They do decide to back up. Siege gets decently low, but is going to back up here. That does delay quite a bit of time, although it's not as much as you would like, as now they're not that healthy, and Fantasy Foosball is already working their way forwards. They know there's traps here somewhere. They're just trying to clear off some space. Trumon does get spammed off of the Pride Rock after trying to get up there. Just a bit of spam. There's still traps on point that they have not cleared. Here comes a bomb from Siege, a flank push onto Danmar here. Local Man is there, but there's no other support, and that's a 1v2. Here comes the rest of the team, though. Fantasy Foosball is going to try to get the kill, but Siege gets out, and Atlas gets behind. This is delaying them huge. Oh my goodness. They finally see Atlas is on the flank. Here comes a bomb from Danmar, gets a direct, but dies. Atlas finally goes down, but almost a minute off the clock just right there. That is a huge misplay there from Fantasy Foosball. They really got to step this up. They really got to take an Uber exchange soon.
Yes, this is the control that I really want to see from Mr. Smokums. They're making smart plays, not just bleeding players, plays that bleed time. And Fantasy Foosball still refusing to just take an aggressive Uber across point. They're just eating spam, not even capping. AC-130 finally managing to stand off point a little bit. But it's actually Nines going in with the aggression, sees an opportunity to pick AT, but Dan getting chased down by AC-130, barely doesn't make it to the pack. AC-130 gonna be able to take it off, but now Stranger's kind of stuck on red side of the point. They're gonna be able to recap. They don't deny anybody. Meanwhile, Dan still dead. Longer respawns coming out. AC-130 gets finished off by Atlas. The Stranger's alone up here now. His only bodyguard, but hits a surf. Why is he surfing back in?
No!
He's going for a medic garden.
And then Atlas died of bleed damage trying to go for the melee. Oh my goodness.
That was a good joke. They're right.
I mean, they did get some time on point, but it's only going to be 30 seconds, and since you're down a medic, this is really good. They're down 50% Uber, although as we say that, like we expected, here's the AC-130 sniper. He has spawned up. We'll see where he decides to go. He's going for a little window, so actually he's standing on the crates peeking over the Japan area. Doesn't look like he's getting anything for now, but he's still looking. He does see a soldier bomb. The sniper has been revealed as Blitz took a bunch of damage. Now he's peeking up on Cliff. Here comes a bomb from Siege. They don't actually know where the sniper is. AC-130 gets a kill on Nines. Trumon gets a kill on Siege.
The arrow from Stranger! He airshots Dan at 5 HP. Would have died to fall damage. He's crazy.
Another headshot rings out from AC-130. It's going well for them. Here comes another body shot there. Here comes the aggressive Uber from Fantasy Foosball. Stranger hits a nice surf. Oh my goodness, what a surf. Gets out alive. He tries to go for the pack. Is trying to dodge. Does get killed by Dan, who gets 2 kills. Also gets a scout. AT gets a kill on the Dan to trade that off. Siege is still alive. Does jump out, and that's a meta alive. Ko has just backed himself all the way out behind the rock. Is very safe here. And they recap the point, and that's a minute and 10 seconds advantage, and even climbing for Mr. Swickum's day off. This is really good for them.
They have Uber ad once again. It's only 30%. AC-130 still on the sniper. Was getting a lot of damage, but Mr. Smokum's playing around it. They're going for the 4-man, though. Danmar's in. Ko hits a surf with the second soldier. Trumon finds him, hits him with a direct. Maybe should have surfed towards pack on grass or something. And with that, the 4-man was successful. AC-130 still peeking. If he can get any cheeky little kills. And even though the 4-man was successful, though, somehow, during the 4-man, Stranger dies as well.
And Atlas at the end just decides to run in and go for the sniper kill. Only 5 seconds left here. They have to do a push now. Fantasy Foosball already loses Danmar early. AT gets a pick onto Dan. That's big. But they only have 1 scout here. They do get a bunch of kills. That Siege in the skybox does die. Stranger is very low. Yeah, they finally get the point, which is desperately needed, but they don't have a second soldier, which means they're not even going to be able to forward hold. This is a huge, this is going to be a huge uphill battle, excuse me, for Fantasy Foosball here. They're getting healed up, they're already starting to... They are, and they're going to have to get a little lucky, I think, unless Mr. Smokins kind of beefs this. Here comes a double soldier bomb, it's a little bit beefed up. Danmar has swapped onto the black box, using that heals to take a little less damage. A little bit of a Walrus meme play, but we won't judge it.
I see my
Atlas gets
found
killed pretty quickly. Ko got a pipe. Caught piped and is still standing in there. Blitz takes a lot of damage, backs up to get the pack, and all that damage, and Mr. Smokums actually just has to back up. and they are going to retreat, but they're going to get Uber this time, and that's going to be a necessary Uber exchange. Fantasy Foosball has not played these Uber exchanges as well as Mr. Smokums has, and I'm sure they're ready for the Uber exchange. Although, as I say that, aggressive Uber in from Fantasy Foosball here. Blitz goes behind, is trying to get a kill. Both soldiers clean up that kill. The Uber was traded out. It was slightly better for Mr. Smokums. They do finally get the kill into the demo. Oh my god, air shot from Siege. Lokalman is trying to get a cleanup kill, but they're down a player. Danmar finally gets a kill, gets a big bomb from Siege, doing a ton of damage, but it's still 4-on-3. Blitz is a spawner, and Alice is not there. AC-130 picks off Poe, and Lokalman picks off Dan. Lokalman is trying to protect Stranger. Just the spam from Blitz is not, instead of bombing, he's spamming. And that's going to be a huge misplay from Blitz. Could have potentially secured that med kill there, but Lokalman is able to protect, and that's going to be a crucial hold, and they actually have a chance there. Wow, you really need to bomb to support Blitz.
A 2-minute hold, 2 minutes to 0. They have the Uber at 85%. They just have to not let Mr. Smokums cap this. If those last 10% are coming in, they get a kill, but AT goes down early. That's not good. They get a follow-up kill. Down to demo, but they're up players. They still have the Uber ad. Lokalman wants to take it. He's playing very aggressively.
AC-130 is on the top.
AC-130 locking it down. And with this, it's into overtime. They just pop the Uber, and nobody on Mr. Smokums is able to take the point back. They managed to come back from a 2-minute to nothing dis ad on clock and somehow get the round. Crazy games.
That was absolutely absurd. They really got to step this up if they want to improve this. They have to set this up, Mr. Smokums does, or else they are going to be eliminated in third place here. Already the second mid-fight going on, a little bit healthier on the side of Mr. Smokums. Siege does a bomb, gets a big rocket onto AC-130, but the players on Mr. Smokums took too much damage. They're not really able to clean up anything. Both teams are kind of low, but Fantasy Foosball definitely has better health. AC-130 getting aggressive on Siege. Siege is very low, gets bombed by Danmar. Nice cleanup kill. Danmar does go behind as well. Atlas is going to get drawn behind. Danmar does back up to his team, and that's a big cleanup there from Danmar. Very well played on that black box, and does actually secure the mid-fight there for their team, although both teams have just gotten Uber now, and we should expect Mr. Smokums to come forward.
That black box over on the flank, he's completely self-sufficient over there. He doesn't need anybody else. Just healing himself up. Siege bombing in, immediately getting beat shot by AC-130 though. And Atlas taking some space, drops low. Dan, meanwhile, just piping Lokalman, taking him out. We know he's dangerous. Danmar winning the Soldier Ditto with the extra healing from the black box. He's like a herbivore over there, just foraging for kills. And with that, Fantasy Foosball is up 2. I think after that first round, Mr. Smokums may be feeling a little bit of pressure. It's hard to keep your mental in the game. Dan gets bombed, doesn't even see the soldier.
Also, Lokalman is on Sniper. Danmar is trying to chase, does get a kill into Blitz. Code did get out with full Uber, which is crucial, but as we should note, Lokalman is on Sniper. He's on that little side on the on China over here, and there's no aggressive hold because they're down a soldier on the side of Fantasy Foosball. So Mr. Smokums does take the space a little. I'm not sure if they know that there's a sniper yet. Just a bit of spam being traded out, a lot of time off the clock. This time it's going to be about 1.5 minutes of time ad, although Mr. Smokums day off does get a kill onto Danmar pretty quickly. Atlas is behind trying to pressure. They're trying to get the kill onto AT. Siege just go for a bomb onto the Sniper. Sniper hits a nice surf, and Trumon does a crucial save.
Stranger gets forced, he can't even get Uber on anybody.
And there's a scout behind, and Atlas gets a kill onto Lokalman. Blitz gets a kill to Trumon. AT gets the kill onto Atlas finally. But that was a huge, huge play for Mr. Smokums, and they take back the point, and they are going to delay for their scout spawner.
Stranger got forced there after both AT had abandoned him and AC-130 died. He looked like a lost little kid on point, just Ubered alone. Nobody to attach beam to for 80% of the Uber. Somehow manages to live post still. And with that, Fantasy Foosball is actually going to have to re-aggress here. They managed to burn 2 minutes off after their first cap, but now they have to get that remaining minute off. They're just taking the space, bullying out Mr. Smokums completely, but they use the Uber in aggressively, knowing that they have ad. Stranger was playing a little bit back, managed to bait back into main and live. They only get 1 kill so far. Danmar looks like he's dropping low. Will die to Siege. The splash rocket finally finds him. So they managed to pick up 2 with the Uber ad and stall for a little bit of time, but now they're going to be at close to 80% dis ad here. And Fantasy Foosball is going to be able to walk back in as soon as they get their players here, try and use this Uber aggressively, or just try and bully them off points and recap. If I were Mr. Smokums here, I would go for a four-man, which they are doing. Stranger immediately uses. Hopefully they don't drop 3 players in this four-man. Yet Mr. Smokums is somehow just all living behind. They aren't securing any of these kills, and they're actually going to be able to recollapse on Stranger post-Uber. Stranger running around behind the rock. Somehow these four-mans for Mr. Smokums are like getting kills out of nowhere. And finally, Fantasy Foosball is able to recap, but now they will be at disad.
Big misplay there from Mr. from Fantasy Foosball, excuse me. They made Stranger use early. They just were not prepared for that four-man at all. They don't even get enough time to set up a four-man or a forward hold here. Blitz has already gotten Truman off of the Pride Rock. He's going to go right back up and get that aggressive spam angle. But it's looking better, although as I say that, Ko gets forced with a big pipe. Siege gets a kill. AT gets a trade kill into Atlas, although AT is definitely caught. Stranger needs to leave AT out alive. AT is still alive. No way. Danmar gets a kill. They bring him over. AC-130 gets a kill. It's going super aggressive. Siege is behind it. Danmar's chasing it, but they really just need to kill this med. Ko is potentially caught. They need to protect Stranger now. Stranger does not get a great serve, but the rest of the team is there, so he's able to get out alive. Danmar's already getting a bit of aggressive spam, just trying to delay. It's 10 seconds left. They don't have Uber either. This is really bad for Mr. Smokums Day Off. They have to fight this. And here comes the Uber from Fantasy Foosball. They do, yeah, even with the one pick there, it's just not enough. Uber is too much, and that is a second round. 2 rounds away from grand finals for Fantasy Foosball.
2 rounds to 0. They are coming out dominant even after that first round, bringing it back 2 minutes to 0. I think the psychological damage on Mr. Smokums may have been too great. AT, I honestly have never seen this demo roll out. He just flies in, immediately starts sticking stuff out at like 80 HP. An absolute madman. Both teams looking for that spam, looking for something to go off of here. AT getting pushed back a little bit. AC-130 gets dropped very low when they aren't there to protect the rest of their combo when they get bombed. Blitz is able to go in and just farm. And with that, Mr. Smokums a 6-for-0 mid-fight. Never mind. They came back to play. Oh, and now, oh yes, now that I'm reading the script, it seems that it's time for this Mr. Smokums comeback so he can get the next map.
Yeah,
Yes.
one thing important to note though, because of that rollout, AT actually used literally all 12 of his ammo, and as soon as that happened, both soldiers bombed. That was a great adjustment for Mr. Smokums Day Off, and they absolutely punished. AT had nothing to stop Mr. Smokums Day Off, the non-soldiers, from just walking forward. Pyro coming out on the left side here, big breakthrough. They do get a bunch of space. They don't even get a single kill. Siege is maybe gonna die. Siege does get saved barely. But that was a great breakthrough. Dan is still aggressive. Dan gets a kill into Danmar. Truman goes in for a bomb. Surfs Ko forward. Ko is stuck. Gets forced by the four-man. Or sort of a four-man. It's only a three-man. Local Man is on Pyro still. Is going to try to get out with the air blast. Is going to get caught. That is a late death. Atlas is in! Oh my goodness, Atlas is insane. Not going to get anything, though. That was definitely way too aggressive there. And that's down 2 players, and that's going to allow Mr. Smokums Day Off, or Fantasy Foosball, excuse me, to just walk through. Dan has set some traps onto China, common places where soldiers are going to go. Although Tremont does just bomb above them. Oh my goodness. Okay, he didn't shoot the traps into his medic. That was very close. They do walk forward here, just a bit of space. They have a full Uber head, although, as we say that, Atlas has swapped onto Sniper this time. And Atlas is going to spawn up on the cliff side. We'll see. He's below on the porch side. His first shot has been gone off, so they know he's on Sniper. Mr. Smokums Day Off has to play a little bit passive since they have a Sniper, and Fantasy Foosball gets aggressive because of it. Trumon is in on the Sniper, doesn't have enough HP to get the kill, and just dies. Local Mid did get a kill into Siege, which helps. And that's no flank for Mr. Smokums Day Off, so Fantasy Foosball really has to abuse that now. Although, as I say that, Atlas already gets a body shot kill onto Local Man. That's 2 players. And here comes the aggressive Uber from Fantasy Foosball. They're going to try to kill Ko. They do kill Ko. Ko is just too aggressive.
Oh no, that's disaster.
No.
The arrow string is insane. He air shot arrows the soldiers sacking for him, says I don't even need my team to protect me from this guy. I'll take him down myself. Completely stops his momentum. It's a veggie rocket there on him. Barely does any damage. Danmar in with the black box, backing up, looking for a little bit of early spam. And that drop spelled complete disaster for Mr. Smokums. What should have been an advantage fight for them. Maybe even a better Uber turned into a complete loss. And Fantasy Foosball is able to almost even up the time here. Siege dropping extremely low over there on the flank. AC-130 also dropping low, using some spam on points. And both these teams, nobody has Uber. There can't be any exchanges. Atlas getting W down by AC-130, dropping low as well. And finally gets picked off by Local Man, goes and cleans it up. And with that, Fantasy Foosball, they're just running in. They're holding W. They're killing everybody. AT also dropping very low. Both teams had players drop to single-digit HP there, but the only ones that ended up actually being finished off were people from Mr. Smokums, and they're going to have to go back to spawn. And with that, Fantasy Foosball has completely evened out the timing, except now they get to forward hold a little bit.
No, they tried to set it up, but it is too late. Both soldiers on Fantasy Foosball are very low. Siege is going to try to do a bomb, is going to try to get the kills. No kills happen, though, but Fantasy Foosball has a bunch of not healthy players, so Mr. Smokers the off just gets a bunch of space. Dan gets a kill onto AT with the pipes. Here comes the aggressive Uber exchange from Fantasy Foosball. It's good to at least finally get some delaying, although Atlas has just pushed the flank,
players.
Gets a kill. Siege is almost gets Danmar there on the flank. That's down 2, and that's going to allow Mr. Smokers the off to just take the point, although Fantasy Foosball did do a good job of delaying time, and they were able to get the force, and they bought a lot of time, but, you know, yeah, it's a pick from Trumont. Trumont stayed a bit too late, but yeah.
Got in.
Yeah, already through the main doorway here, Fantasy Foosball, they just break through. AC-130 does get a kill into 9s. There's no sniper from Atlas, because Atlas, I believe, died on sniper and then respawn. They just back up into point, and that's 1 down, and they're going to have to fight off this sniper here from Fantasy Foosball.
Yeah, a very risky Uber exchange there from Fantasy Foosball, I will say. Going in after your demo dies, very important that you play the post correctly and don't let your medic die, and they're able to pull it off and stall some extra time here. But now they need to find a way to recap. 47 seconds to 47 seconds, completely even. And Stranger, Siege just flies in from the top ropes and takes out Stranger, the medic pick. What is Fantasy Foosball's response? Are they going to go for the 4-man now or later? They won't have any time to do it later if they don't do it now. They're just backing up. They're going to have to fight this disad. This is their round to, or this is Mr. Smokum's round to lose at this point. Full disad on the side of Fantasy Foosball, and they're just bombing in. Dan is going in. They immediately pick Stranger again. Dan soloing him, lands the sticky, 6'd up with a pipe. AT soon to follow in the grave. Danmar dies as well. It's 4 for 1 with that Uber exchange, 5 for 1, and Mr. Smokums is gonna clean this out. AC-130, he's only one man. He can't do it himself.
Yeah, that's the round there for Mr. Smokums Day Off. As you said, script working in their favor. But on a serious note, on a serious note though, like those scouts from, what's really crucial is the scouts from Mr. Smokums Day Off are the ones getting aggressive. So when they're not able to get aggressive, like when there's no Ubers in play, it's really hurting them. Mr. Smokums soldiers really have to do an aggressive bomb. Dan gets picked really early. Siege gets piped, gets killed. That's 2 down. Danmar gets a kill into 9s. That's 3 down. Danmar's already trying to bomb kill, but actually just goes for the directs. Does so much damage, but gets out very low on HP, and that is a win for for Fantasy Foosball, excuse me, but not as big as it could have been.
Yeah, they managed to get their medic out, which is the most important when your demo dies instantly on mid and then 2 other people die shortly after. They're going to be able to refight this with even Ubers. It's not the worst thing in the world. They'll lose maybe 30 seconds here if they can recap this quickly. They win a counterfight. They're taking the space now. Little trap over here on red side rock. I don't think anybody sees it yet, but they're playing more to the left side. Oh, they're rotating it. Could get a kill. Could get a kill. Dan's walking near it. Siege is in, gets denied. Was that an air pipe or something else that stopped him? Atlas, meanwhile, getting a counter kill on AT, just walking across, blitz, taken down on Pride Rock. Both teams bleeding players. Danmar gets 2 with that black box. Now he's fighting Siege behind. The aggressive Uber comes out from Stranger. Forced to use, dropped very low by Spam. Mr. Smokum's Uber much better. They're running down Local Man. Are they going to be able to pick him up? They are. Dan finds the sticky. And with that, Mr. Smokums is going to be able to recap and stabilize here a little bit. Up 1 player for now. Dan taking a little bit of damage. Blitz taking space on Pride Rock. Both these teams just now back and forth. Back to a bit of an even situation. But now Fantasy Foosball, it's on them to do something.
It is indeed. They're starting to get aggressive here. There hasn't been any soldier bombs aggressive. Actually, there was a flank shove here from Mr. Smokum. Siege gets killed in the flank shove. That's not good for them. Here comes the aggression. Huge damage from from Fantasy Foosball onto Mr. Smokum's. Danny gets very low, does get out, but that's one player pick, and all that damage is actually just going to force them away. Atlas gets very low too, but is going to get out as well. Truman got on the Pride Rock as well, getting a bunch of space, and that's going to be another just point pressure. They don't even have Uber here, but they have about 20 seconds add in terms of time, and that is climbing as as time goes up. It's going to take them longer, and like as more time goes down. Excuse me. As the longer it takes Mr. Smoker to do something here, the better it is for Fantasy Foosball. They're finally getting a bit aggressive. They're still not taking an Uber. Here comes Siege with the bomb, gets behind off the Danmore. An aggressive Uber. It looks like that was a force there.
It's a better Uber for Mr. Smokums.
Yeah.
Dan is bombing in, but Stranger, realizing the situation, realizing HE's already dead, backs out smartly. Meanwhile, a little bit of a fight skirmish happening over on the flank. Both teams back off. AC 130 is just in! He fights Atlas in front of his entire team and takes him down. How are they getting these follow-up kills? Mr. Smokums had the advantage. They had the player ad, but Fantasy Foosball just took the fight anyways and somehow won. And with that, they're going to be able to recap the points once again and start ticking down that time. Both these fights, both teams have won about the same amount of fights, but when Mr. Smokums wins, they lose immediately after, and Fantasy Foosball is able to just eat more time off the clock. They're at almost a minute advantage now. The flank being bombed, Danmar being finished off by Siege and Atlas, the tag team duo over there. But AT managed to get a nice pipe on nines. No pocket scout on the side of Mr. Smokums. Atlas dropping low, and the Uber's going to come out. Forced. I think they really didn't want to drop their scout there. Meanwhile, Stranger's just backing out. Doesn't even have to use Uber. This is going to give them completely full Uber ad, and they want to take it aggressively. They're walking in. Local man gets sent into the skybox, gets flashed up, barely doesn't die to fall damage. But the medic already out, so they pick up Truman instead. Atlas stuck in behind. Will probably get finished off. They tried to fight very, very aggressively, but I don't think they properly spotted where Mr. Smokers were playing, so they weren't able to actually catch the medic. Trade kill happening, scout for soldier. And with that, Mr. Smokums is finally going to be able to recap. We have a bit of a pause here, 17.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here, but again, I feel like there's just miscoordination. Like the aggression from the soldiers is just too late, and they're letting on Mr. Smokums, and they're letting too much happen before getting in. They really need to be doing some more initiations, because otherwise it's not gonna work out as well as it needs to for them. As you can already see, both Blitz and Siege, like right here after the fight is over, they're already low. And that's going to mean that they're going to have a lot of pressure. They might not be low for when the fight comes back to them from Fantasy Foosball, who have a spawner up, and they're going to be fighting within a few seconds, I would assume. Yeah, a lot of crazy Ubers, though. That was a very Chad Uber, I would say, where you just run your two scouts through cliff. No explosives. One thing that's really big, though, is you really want an explosive class on Uber. Ideally a soldier and Koth, but you really need an explosive class, because if you don't have an explosive class on these Ubers, you're not going to be able to catch them off, especially when you're like catch the enemies off. Most importantly, the medic, and that's especially when you're like trying to go fast off of an Uber ad. If it's an even Uber, yeah, maybe you probably don't want your explosive class in after the first few seconds, but especially when you're using aggressively to try to catch the med, you have to have an explosive class in to just prevent them, like lock out the med's exit. You don't want that med getting out. Right in here, we're gonna have to see what Mr. Smokum, how they hold based on what their setup is and how Fantasy Foosball, decide to do their aggression. A lot of the times, Mr. Smokums has actually just been doing these flank shoves with Siege and Atlas, although this time Atlas is dead, so I believe they won't be going for that, but we will see. But yeah, I'm hoping for Mr. Smokums to win this map just so we can have a map 3, but we will see what happens here. What do you think? Do you have any predictions so far? We never asked either of us for predictions, but what do you think is going to happen for the rest of this map?
The rest of this map, I am guessing that this pause may be a result of Fantasy Foosball winning the third round, bringing it up 3-1, and Mr. Smokums trying to take a moment to reorient. Wait, did Mr. Smokums pause in the first game? Can they pause again? Is that allowed?
Yes, they can pause twice per map, and it was them, but they can pause twice per map for 5 total minutes each time.
I don't know the RGL rules, honestly. I've never read them. They're useless. So I will say, I think a big, big boon in fantasy foosball's player is just in favor is just how fast they are refighting every time. Every time that they lose the points, they are immediately aggressive. Meanwhile, Smokums is a little bit more hesitant when they lose the point. They're kind of poking, prodding a little bit more, taking less of just the aggressive angle that fantasy foosball is, and it's let fantasy foosball just bleed a lot more time when they actually have the points than Mr. Smokums has been able to bleed off. Even though Mr. Smokums has the point right now, I believe they still have like a minute and something, a minute 40, if I'm remembering correctly. Meanwhile, fantasy foosball's at only 20 seconds. I'm hoping we get a map 3 as well,
Yeah,
but we shall see. It
I think
all
it's a
depends
minute
on
50.
minute 50.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
those RGL rules are probably there for a reason, but anyways, I would
Mhm.
definitely agree with you about the situation
Written
of the
by a
game
bunch of
state
nerds.
here. Okay, let me say so. No, I definitely agree with you. These soldiers they're just like just in general, I think they're too scared to get aggressive on Mr. Smokeum's day off when they don't have the point. But the problem is if you just sit there forever, the longer you sit there, the more time is bleeding off the clock for the other team. So when you don't have the point, you're essentially on you could even imagine it as like playing offense on an attack defense map. And the other team who has the point is on defense, right? It's on you to do something because if you just sit there forever, the other team wins, right? So you have to do something. Here comes the unpause. As we predicted, those soldiers do get out actually pretty safely. Mr. or Fantasy Foosball doesn't really chase. They're just waiting for their spawners. They're going to get healed up, prepared. They're still trying to pressure some stuff out. They get all their spawners alive. They do get Truman onto the cap. They're just trying to spam, delay, get some time, and now they're starting to walk through the right side here towards the cliff. Those soldiers get into more aggressive spots. Stranger actually eats a pipe, I believe. He's very low. He has to back up. He's not playing so aggressive. He's not really with his team. AT takes a ton of damage too. Atlas gets a bit of damage, but Mr. Smokers is holding this pretty well so far.
Yes, they're holding this. They're fantasy foosball not showing the aggression that I just talked about. But Dran dropping super low, and AC 130 finds him. And now the Uber comes out from Mr. Smokums, but they don't get anybody. They aren't even able to force, once again, not even attempting to bomb an explosive class in. And if you only Uber a scout, he's not really going to be able to do much. Atlas stays in a little bit too long as well on concrete. And it's looking like my prediction for the pause was probably true. It's going to be very hard for fantasy foosball to lose this round now unless Stranger like goes AFK. And so does AT or something like that. All they have to do is win this last fight. They have full Uber advantage to do it. It's a complete desperation fight from the side of Mr. Smokums. Nine's already dropping super low, dying before the Uber even comes out. Atlas soon follows, and they don't even get any cap time. Fantasy Foosball takes it up 3-1, hoping to close it out and sign their ticket to Grand Finals.
Yeah, and so we can confirm that was a tack pause from Mr. Smokums' day off. They just needed to catch their breath because if you didn't realize, it is match point for Fantasy Foosball. If they win this, they move on to Grand Finals against Conductor. We have a problem here. We'll see how this last
I hear that team is pretty cool.
I don't know. We'll see. Anyways, Siege tries to go. They do an aggressive bomb this time. Siege dies pretty quickly. But Atlas and Dan just walk forward and grab 3 kills. Ko is doing so much dodge, and they get so many kills. A huge change of pace. A good talk. It definitely worked out for them, at least for the start. They do lose Atlas, unfortunately, late, but that's a late death from AC 130. And that was a big, needed win mid-win from Mr. Smokums' day off. And a big change of pace. Let's see if they change it up or keep this change going.
Yeah. They're able to have a pretty dominant mid-fight, kill everybody. Now they have basically full Uber out. I'm wondering what Fantasy Foosball's play here is. They're taking the space, getting people buffed up. AT's putting down the stickies. It's going to be a 4-man, but the medic tucked away in the back. 20 HP, milking a little bit too much. Local man able to walk in, get the kill. Another kill. Siege goes down as well. You gotta be a little bit careful. It's match point, man. You're 20 HP. Just use. It's not that big of a deal. And with that, even though they have a minute off the clock, Fantasy Foosball is gonna be able to walk out here with full ad. I will say, I haven't seen any of these teams doing it. I prefer to let the enemy team tap first and then go for the 4-man so they have worse spawns. So if you get kills during it, I don't know what your thoughts on that are, but most of these teams have just been ripping the 4-man early. Like they just sent Dan to die. That was a 2-man M17.
Yeah,
and Fantasy Foosball is able to just walk back in.
Yeah, they just take it. Those two-man just doesn't work out for them, and they might even be able to get a four-man. They're trying for that forward hold. Oh no, if they get this forward hold set up, this will be huge. One thing to note though, we didn't actually notice, Ko is on crit screen, even though Stranger, I believe, is still on stock Uber, and because of that, they're gonna try for something. They have Nines busting out with the pyro trying to reflect, and they have Dan right for fine. Here comes the crit.
He finds it!
Stranger, oh my goodness, huge drop, gets another kill onto AC 130. Oh my goodness, what a play, what a call out. Oh my goodness.
The crit screen gambit pays
Alice
off.
gets a kill onto AT. Dan lives. Oh my goodness. Let me check this for a second, but I believe. Do I have this right? No, Ko actually is staying on crits. Did not pick up the Uber.
Yes, they
from
are.
The Medigun from Stranger. If you didn't know, that's a, like, decent ad. We do have or decent change. AC 130 is still on spot. Here comes the backstab. He beats the backstab and just dodges the
Dude, match points, full disad, the crit screen gambit is insane from Mr. Smokums. Oh, it's in the script, M17. They're coming back. They need to win these 3 rounds. They got the forward hold set up. They pop crits on the soldier, but there's a pyro to reflex. Please don't get your medic killed. They finish off the pyro, flashing the...
What? Atlas just walked into spawn trying to get Stranger. Oh my goodness, Atlas, you need to slow down, my man. Oh, losing the crucial mistake. Dan does so much damage, but he doesn't get another trap set up, and he actually gets busted through. That looks so good for Dan. But here comes a bomb from Siege, another bomb from Blitz. They do get the kill. Another drop, another Uber drop. There's so many Uber drops happening. Oh my goodness. Fantasy Foosball is going to retake the point. They are going to delay for their med, but Mr. Smoke Comes the Off has a lot better of a chance in this round. They're only down about 1 minute and 40 seconds here. That is slowly going away, but they do have their players all spawning up. Although, as we say, that AC 130 has swapped right back onto Sniper.
Ko is locked in on this. Chris Krieg M17. They have charge again. He refuses to switch off. Dan's charging the sticky. They want to use. They pop. The sticky flies across. It finds nobody. It finds nobody. Uh-oh, this is not good. This is not good for the side of Fantasy Foosball. All these crits flying across the map. And the only one that manages to get kills, AC 130 with a headshot onto Nines. Gets bombed by True Man, but is flying through the air. I heard a headshot go off. He just
I believe AC 130 got two headshots. He got another headshot.
Oh my god.
Oh my goodness, he's doing so much damage. Atlas is in. There is Dan trying to get in. Does not get does get the rollers, but not enough to clean up the kill. And that is a win on the fight for Fantasy Foosball. But Mr. Smokers only has 13 seconds left. Ko has finally decided it's time to swap back onto stock. And we'll see how they elect to push. They have to do something. They're down full Uber, and there's a sniper. Siege already picks off AC 130, going pretty aggressive here. They have 2 people coming in from the cliffs or the concrete side here. Blitz is getting kind of aggressive. That was the sniper kill from Siege, so that was very crucial. That was absolutely needed from Mr. Smoke to stay out. Blitz gets low. He's going to have to back up. Atlas has to back up as well. Siege kind of busts the bomb. Is going to go in. Is behind. Stranger's kind of caught in the dogwood, but kind of beast. Stranger gets forced eventually by Siege. That's down to... And it looks like Ko has worked his way out. Yes, he has. And he's even going to get Blitz and Atlas out alive, I believe. Or Blitz and Nines, excuse me.
If Ko can make sure that they don't get forced too early, or they at least get enough kills with this force, and they're able to win this last fight, Mr. Smokums can make this a 3-2. The comeback story, the Cinderella story that we all hope for in chats. Bring us to map 3, please. They're busting through grass here. The soldiers are in. The Pyro's able to make the space. They're in for free. They have the full Uber ad now. They just have to win the fight. They just have to do something with it. Atlas peeking a little bit, but AC 130, the heavy over on concrete, just shooting down Siege, gunning him down like a mafia boss. He's just standing here controlling this area. The Uber comes in across the point. They're chasing. Stranger hits a crazy serve all the way back, lives with very low HP, able to get the pack, and they aren't able to pick up the kills. Meanwhile, AC 130 just being a heavy demon behind, picks up 2 kills for free. Atlas finally puts him down, and 88%, but Stranger's like 20 HP. It's so close. Stranger not able to pick it up, and Mr. Smokums is going to be able to barely recap this. A crazy last fight.
There is still 5 seconds, but I don't think there's enough time, yeah.
Can anybody get to the points?
Alice just went
Crazy.
off there with a huge 5K, and that completely helped his team there secure the win. That's another round for Mr. Smokums. They need to keep this up. Let's see how that aggression plays off. Remember, after their pause from last round, they did a double Soldier Bomb after a little bit. Let's see how they decide to react here. AC-130 goes incredibly aggressive, takes a direct from Siege, but Siege is very low, does get killed early. Atlas
being
went
bombed
aggressive here. Blitz went aggressive as well. So much aggression from both the scouts on both teams. AT and Danmar went down. That's 3 picks in the side of Mr. Smokums the Elf, and they're just going to win this. And Fantasy Foosball has to back out here. They're down 3. They have no explosives.
Another mid fight goes to Mr. Smokums here. And now they're just trying to lock this out as best they can. Trying to set up the forward hold. Dan on the left, sticking out this doorway. Both soldiers on the right, locking down the grass. How is Fantasy Foosball gonna break through? Atlas walking into spawn again and kills AC-130. It's his favorite play. I thought he was gonna go right back to it. Fantasy Foosball taking space, but they've already dropped 2. AC-130 dies on the sniper. And the soldier goes down as well. Danmar. Siege bombing it, headshot rockets, and Blitz follows up. It's a nightmare. The forward hold is too strong. They managed to basically kill everybody and get the force from Stranger. Stranger has to tuck his tail between his legs and just run back to spawn with the Uber. And now, not only are they forward holding, but they have full ad as well. They are looking to close this round out, and they're almost playing like a different team after that pause, M17.
Yeah, I think it definitely helped them. It's been a lot closer. Locoman does get out onto Pyro and does get killed. A lot of kills, though, in the favor of Mr. Smokums the Elf. Siege gets killed, though. They do still have Uber on the side of Mr. Smokums the Elf, and they smartly decide to push. Alice just walks behind and gets a kill. Another kill. So many kills on the side of Mr. Smokums the Elf, and they just pretty much wipe them, and that's going to be this is looking really good for Mr. Smokums the Elf. They have a 1 minute 30-second time advantage. They have full Uber advantage. They have the point. They don't have a forward hold set up because their soldiers have died, but this looks really strong for them, Terry.
It does. Already a minute and a half, still with the Uber advantage. Fantasy Foosball probably gonna have to rip a 4-man. They're taking the space for it now. If Co can stay alive through this, or they get enough kills, it's gonna be really problematic for Fantasy Foosball. They're wasting a lot of time. They're not even going for it. The aggressive Uber comes out instead. They aren't even waiting for the 4-man, but they drop Dan. Dan went left. The combo went right. It's a mismatch. The demo dies, only trading out 1 scout. Only AC-130 dies on the side of Fantasy Foosball, and they're gonna be able to instantly re-aggress here. They got rid of the Uber. They have slight ad now, and they have no demo on the side of Mr. Smokums, so they're going to be able to bully Mr. Smokums out and recap this finally. Their first cap. Siege flying high, lands on Stranger. Gets a good amount of damage, but there's no follow-up. I kind of like going for the sack play there. With no demo, you were probably not fighting that anyways. Might as well go for something. You're going to have to refight this now once you get your spawners back.
Yeah, Mr. Smokums has just done such a good time of leading time off the clock here. Big aggression here from the Pyro, a lot of aggression from Fantasy Foosball, trying to stop it down. There's 2 kills on the side of Fantasy Foosball, only 1 on the side of Mr. Smokums, though. There's a second one. AT is also going to get juggled by Atlas. Atlas is just going really aggressive now. He's going insane. There's 3 kills there on the side of Mr. Smokums the Off. Here comes a bomb from Siege. Stranger does take a bit of damage there.
They're just gonna cap.
Yeah, they're just gonna cap.
Can't be stopped. Demo dead.
You really cannot.
Better spawns too on the side of Mr. Smokums because
9 is still aggressive.
Oh man, that's not good. Both soldiers drop very low on the side of Fantasy Foosball, but they have a 2-player ad now. They're going to be able to recap this. It's still an uphill battle, down almost a minute and a half. Actually, a bit over a minute and a half. But Nines takes the Uber in aggressively, finds AT, not able to get flashed. AC-130 following across. They know they have the slightly better Uber, so they want to chase. They full committed, and AC-130 picks up the medic. AC-130 also protects Stranger. Stranger drops super low by the soldier, but they're going to be able to win this fight very clean. Dan bombing in, Siege bombing in, gets air shot denied. Flying in the air. He's 1 HP, going for the Minecraft kill on somebody, not able to pick it up. Local man just shoots him dead. And that's very, very aggressive play from AC-130. Works out pretty well. Swaps the sniper on the respawn. Stranger did barely end up dying at the very, very end, so they aren't going to have any Uber ad to show for it. In fact, slight disad. And Mr. Slopes is going to be able to walk back out here with the better spawns and start pushing Fantasy Foosball away. Danmar picks up a kill on Siege. AC-130 locked in on Sniper, scoping from the cliff. Ooh, Stranger Kritzkrieg, you say. You think this crits is going to work, M17?
Yeah, I'm
They've evened
not
it out.
sure. We'll have to see. Go ahead and take us through this.
They're going to have to see. Nines and Co think they have ad here. Wait, they're both on Kritzkrieg. It's a double crits fight. They both play aggressive, and they're both missing everything. Stranger's the first one to go down. Dan is too strong with the crits. The crits did. They just walk into each other, both trying to catch each other off guard. Both probably very surprised. But Mr. Smokums is the one that manages to kill all the fantasy foosball. They're going to be able to recap, and there's no way anybody's going to be able to make it back. Dude, they both just walked into each other. They're like, they'll never expect this one.
Yeah, and
Oh
we're
my.
hit the 7th round here. Oh my goodness. Mr. Smokums has turned it around completely, but they have to still win one more round to secure the 3rd map here. 3rd map decider is processed, so we'll definitely see a change of pace and as opposed to because 5 CP is different from call. Here comes the double bomb. Both soldiers are on the cliff side. They do their double bomb. It looks like Blitz actually kind of messed up the bomb. Siege is doing a lot of shooting here. Both soldiers end up on the Pride Rock. Pin rocket. Oh my goodness. Damar just bombed, air shot Siege, and destroyed Blitz. Oh my goodness. Damar just won that fight for his team.
Damar went big. He's using the black box too. He only had 3 rockets. He used 1 rocket to jump and then directed both soldiers instantly. That's going to let fantasy foosball instantly transition into a forward hold here. Both soldiers on the left. They have the Uber. Mr. Smoker's trying to bust out. They get the soldier in on Stranger. He hits a nice surf, but he drops. Was that to fall damage or was that the no? That must have been the follow-up rocket from Blitz. The splash. The splash. Blitz just goes absolutely ham.
Yeah, Blitz
he's
even
standing over here in
AC-130.
disbelief. He doesn't even know what to do right now. Just standing around. And with that, Mr. Smoke is going to be able to recap and have full Uber ad themselves. They probably can't set up the forward hold. No, Fantasy Foosball already out. AC-130 peaking. Dropped pretty low. Nines also, Atlas also dropped low.
Yeah, one important thing to note is that Kritzkrieg is on the side of Stranger here, but they don't have Uber, so we'll see if Mr. Smokums decides to take an aggressive Uber here. It might not be as good considering there's a crits, but we will see. Fantasy Foosball is just getting a ton of cap time here. And here comes the aggressive Uber from Mr. Smokums. They are going to go before the Kritzkrieg, or they are going to go before the cap goes up. The Stranger smartly backs up. There was no explosive bomb. Dan just kind of walked forward. They got 2 kills. Dan gets another kill on the True Bomb, which is big. But Stranger is going to have full crits. Danmar is trying to go for a bomb onto Dan. Dan hits a very nice surf. AC-130 picks off Atlas. Atlas is just in spawn again. Atlas, oh my goodness, you need to play with your team. Okay.
And now they have the full crits. They're walking out. They kind of, do they want to use it? They think it's disad. This could actually be kind of bad for Fantasy Foosball if they rip a 4-man. You can't exactly crits to save yourself when you're getting 4-man, but Stranger says, I don't need to save myself. I'll hit the nastiest surf of my career. Just fly on out of here. Pick up the pack. And now they're going to have, oh wait, Atlas is back in. He's back in. He's respawned. He's holding W. He put the feed into overdrive, chat. He wants to drop at least 50 deaths. It's official, I think. Now, Fantasy Foosball, they can forward hold, but they won't know it's crits. They probably still think they're on Uber. If they can get the drop with this Kritzkrieg, it's going to be big for Fantasy Foosball. But if they don't, it's going to be big for Mr. Smokums. And they're on crits. You can't crits your demo to save him from an Uber charge. It doesn't work. And they drop 3 instantly. Mr. Smokums taking the aggressive Uber because they didn't have the point, and Kritzkrieg is not going to help you there. Stranger just runs
and
back
Stranger
to spawn.
does smartly swap off of crits onto the stock Uber charge. That's hopefully going to help his team. While they're down 3 and Mr. Smokums the off has set up a forward hold here. It's going to be very strong. AC-130 has been trying to pressure Atlas here, although Dan is playing very aggressive on this right side here. Here comes the all the way through from the push from Fantasy Foosball. They get a kill even with the assisted spam from Dan. Locoman is still out on Pyro, being very aggressive. Atlas is actually on the right side. Danmar and Siege do the Roamer special, trading off with each other. And Fantasy Foosball, with that push through, they got the point, and Locoman finally decided, okay, it's time. I'm going to go run all the way back to spawn and swap off onto my scout class. And they finally do. Actually, do we see that correctly? No, Atlas is just spy checking, it looks, or class checking, excuse me, and they're checking to see if they have stock Uber, and it looks like Atlas knows that Stranger is on stock Uber. So they do know it's even Ubers here. There's no just directly using into the enemy team. Although it is, even though Fantasy Foosball has a bit of a time advantage, or time disadvantage, they have the point. Big fight here. Both teams are going pretty aggressive. Dan gets a kill onto Local Man. AC 130 gets a kill. Kills just trading all over here, but now it's starting to work out well. The Ubers finally get popped off, but that's after everybody dies. You can't let that happen. Fantasy Foosball tries to potentially chase, but Dan does a nice play and gets his medic out alive, and Ko is able to survive. And even though they have a 10 second time disadvantage or time advantage here, it's not over for either team.
Yeah, completely even fight now here. Mr. Smokum's trying to take some space again after that disastrous Uber exchange. Neither team has Uber quite yet. It's going to be about 20 seconds before that happens. Siege takes some space over on Concrete. Pinches Danmar, so he's the first to go down. Dan picks up that kill, but AC-130 and Local Man, the scout duo, picking up 2 kills on the side of Mr. Smokums, and they're also low HP. They're waiting for an arrow, but Ko was so far back he couldn't arrow anybody in. Dan eats a pipe, and with that, no demo for the beginning of this last fight. Actually, they should have enough time. They don't have the point.
Yeah, as we see, Local Man this time Local Man is swapping the heavy, not AC-130, 10 seconds left. It has to be an Uber exchange here, a more aggressive Uber from Fantasy Foosball here. It looks like it's so close to see what happens. AC-130 gets a kill into Dan. The kills are going so far in the way of Fantasy
These soldiers are kissing.
2v1. No, the soldiers kiss in midair, and that's it. Fantasy Foosball wins the second map, stopping the comeback from Mr. Smokums Day Off, and they will advance to the grand finals of IM6s. What a close second map, and that looked very dire on the side of Mr. Smokums Day Off, but it turned into a really good game there, and congrats to both teams.
The script must have been wrong, Yo17. We were supposed to go to a map 3. What happened?
Yeah, hold on. Hold on. I gotta just change the notes real quick. Can you just give me 1 second, guys? I'm working through it. You're working through.
You're figuring out.
Yeah.
M17. It's the same story. How does this happen? What, dude? Fantasy Foosball just has the secret sauce once again. Dan dropping over 400. Ko dying half as much as Stranger. Fantasy Foosball getting about 10 less kills and less damage. Yet they're winning. How are they winning with more med deaths, less damage, less kills?
They're just less damage, fewer drops. I don't know. They even had less mid-fight wins. I don't know.
The script said that they were supposed to win on Snakewater, but they weren't supposed to win on product.
Your process or Bagel? Which one are you talking about?
Process. Sorry, I thought third map was Snakewater.
Okay. Yeah, that was their previous matchup.
That was the other one.
But this time it didn't even need it. Yeah, and again, looking at the logs, Dan just went off more than 120 damage per minute positive. Very strong performance from Dan, but it is just not enough.
Stranger trying to cope a little bit in chat.
Let's see this. Not a med player for the record.
It's the easiest class, but everybody can play medic. Do we get some post-game interviews on 17? Is that possible?
No, unfortunately it's not. Sorry about that. It's
what? I have very important questions to ask Fantasy Foosball about their plans going into grand finals.
I mean, it might be a little biased. I don't know if we could really do that, considering you're on the other team as the conductor. We have a problem. The team currently in grand finals on the winner side.
I hate my team. I hate them. I want them to lose.
Well, we'll see. Anyways, yeah, what a crazy game back and forth. That was insane, and we definitely picked out the 2 players to watch, and that was a really good game to watch. But I think overall, Fantasy Foosball just had better coordination and team play as a whole, and just better plans. Even though they got out DM'd seemingly, they just were the better team.
All I'm saying is, if I'm Dan, I am clinically depressed after those 2 officials. Dan was trying so hard. I was 17. He was doing so much.
Yeah,
You
I mean,
hate to see it.
you do hate to see it, but that was a very exciting game. I'm glad to have watched it. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Maybe we'll get the logs up here. No, I think we're just gonna head out here. But, yeah, it
The
was a
logs are
great.
on the stream.
Oh, the combined logs are already on the screen.
Not combined.
Yeah. Well, that was that match. Yeah. But anyways, yeah, that was a great match. Thanks for coming out tonight, Theory. Do you have any shout outs?
Any shout outs? I just want to say thanks to Fireside for letting me ruin their operation here. I just want to say, I want to shout out Blitz, honestly, going very big, looking very cool with those bombs. Honestly, almost as cool as you would look if you picked up some Fireside merchandise. The
True.
looking very cool. Producer has to sleep. Do not. The producer's fine. What does the producer even do? Like, honestly, M17 is out here putting in the real work. He's got to go ban 4 open players after this.
Okay. Anyways, yeah, I would like to shout out, of course, both Theory Y on co-casting and, of course, Antlers on production. Thanks to both teams for playing this season, and thanks for Mr. Smokumsdale for a great season. But we will see fantasy foosball in grand finals. That will be Thursday night at 10:30 Eastern time. Yeah, but shout out to all the viewers as well for sticking around for this crazy match. It might have gone longer, but it was thankfully not a snore fest. It was a very good match. It was definitely exciting to see.
Yeah, we can only
Um,
hope that grand finals is as exciting as that.
that is the goal. Grand finals as well, by the way, will be a best of 5, but it'll only be a maximum of 4 maps because the winner side team, Conductor, we have a problem. They have a map advantage because they came from the winner side. So, yeah. Anyways, thank you for
You're
joining
writing that
us.
script for the grand
Hey,
finals.
yeah. Hold on, I gotta finish it up. I haven't even finished the draft yet. Come on, give me some time here.
All right. You got 2
Yeah.
days.
Thank you. Anyways, thank you for joining us tonight, everyone. And we'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much.
Thanks for watching.